Well, welcome everyone. Ah, shit, you're the only one that
Yeah, I
showed
was
up,
gonna
aren't
say
you?
I think it's more just one. I
Just
don't think
one.
there's an every. I don't think there's an every to that one. I think it's just one.
Okay, well, I mean, like, I, I'm, at least someone showed up.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think I've ever heard of the idea of a therapy office party.
Yeah,
Like,
I
isn't part of therapy usually? I don't know. I've never been to therapy. I've only seen it on television. But don't you usually see like people who like know each other in real life? So like you don't want to have an office party
I
where they come
it
to the
was
party together.
it was more of a kind of like the holidays are hard, the New Year is hard, kind of a support group kind of vibe.
Isn't that like what the ending of Sopranos was, and that's why everyone was mad? Because like the idea of an office party at a diner for therapy doesn't make any sense, and then all of her other patients are there.
Something like that. It's something like that happened.
I've also never seen. I've never been to therapy, and I've never seen Sopranos. That's
Well,
why I'm non-binary.
well, happy New Year. We're
Yeah.
we're coming up. It's getting there. How was your year? How did your year go? Would you feel?
Oh. I mean,
Hey,
the
oh hey, before
pandemic's finally over.
uh-huh. Yeah, if we're really celebrating. Pandemic over, baby.
Yeah, the pandemic's over. We're down to like what, the Omicron
Mm.
version, and I don't know about you, but that sounds weak. That sounds like pussy shit. I'm not reading anything about it,
Omicron is
so
like
don't tell me.
we're on like the Avengers 2 stage of COVID, and then there's gonna be like we have Endgame to look forward to.
Yeah. Oh, and that means yeah, we're in like quarter five of the
Yeah.
Marvel coronavirus universe.
Yeah, we're in like part two of the like rollout schedule. But it's gonna get real exciting. It's gonna get really cool.
I really want to see what they're gonna do. I am kind of interested in what they do with the next round of booster shots. I'm, fingers crossed, hoping that they're trying to get menthols off the market so that they can put menthol in the vaccines.
Please
Because
God.
I think that's a great way to get people to comply to getting vaccinations. Because like
Yeah.
honestly, that's how I get people to start smoking. Is I just give them menthols.
We spent a lot of time inside this year once again. Uh
Oh boy, did we?
and spent quite a bit of time watching movies.
We
Huh?
did, didn't we?
Did we not?
It's actually pretty sad. I was kind of making, I was going over movies I've seen this year, and so I was trying to do like, some of my favorites, and a lot
Yeah.
of them, I saw a lot of movies that I'd never seen before that I really loved. Stuff like The Devils, Bound, Wolf's Hole, Skin I Live In, stuff from all over the years. Wasn't a lot from this year. I realized as I was making my list. So
Yeah.
then I tried to be like, well, what are some movies that came out, that what are some movies I saw that I really didn't like this year? And so, I had like Willy's Wonderland, I Care a Lot,
Well, don't spoil.
Cruella,
Don't spoil.
Space Jam. Oh, these aren't spoilers. These aren't even on the list.
Oh
And I
yeah.
realized, wow, a lot of movies I didn't like this. I didn't like that I watched this year came out this year. None of
Yeah.
those are on the list. There was no spoilers. I have a little behind the veil look here. I have a whole little note system down in front
Ooh.
of me.
Oh wow. I have a note system which is just the names of some movies.
Well, I did like what is it, March Madness?
Uh-huh.
I did like a whole like a racket thing where it's like, all right, here's all the ones I liked and here's all the ones I didn't like, and then I kind of like pair them off until I decide what are the top 5. So I just have a list of like all of the ones I thought of for each category. Um,
Damn. That's
and yeah,
spectacular.
I watched. I am happy to say I watched mostly movies I liked this year.
Yeah, it was a pretty even ratio for me, but I saw the things that I didn't like were very, very, very plentiful, let's say. But the things that are on my best list are like things that completely and totally changed my life. And it was,
Yeah, no, I tried to keep my best list to not just movies I saw where I was like, oh, that was good, but like movies that like, I read the name and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about that movie again.
yeah, like consistently, like movies that I still think about, movies that changed the way I think about movies and about everything and about blah 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 blah.
Man, people are gonna hate my list. Anyway,
Oh, I'm really excited.
I also tried to, for my worst, try to avoid ones that we already talked about because
Uh-huh.
that was most of the bad ones that I saw this year. But then I
Yeah.
still saw a lot of bad ones this year that we didn't talk about because they were too bad. So when you asked if you should watch them, I said no.
Okay, that's really, really promising. That's very exciting. Well, what would so I'd say you have about I have about five for each. I have five best, five
Yeah,
worst. Would you say you got the
yeah.
same?
I figured you can't do 10 because at that point
That's just
I'm
so
just
much.
scrolling through my letterbox being like, that was like a 2-star, but it was like a good 2-star. You know, like if we're picking top, it's got to be 5. If I
Oh
really
yeah.
wanted to be serious about it, I'd do 3, maybe 7 if it was like a really good year for movies. Wasn't that good of a year for movies.
No.
It's not the 80s anymore.
No. But we're not restricting ourselves just to 2021 here, are we?
Oh yeah, no, we're doing, if you weren't around for last year's special, we're doing 5 best and worst movies that
That we saw in
we
the
saw
year.
this year for the
Because
first
fuck
time.
you.
For the first time. That is the criteria.
Yeah.
Because if it was just 5 best movies I saw this year, it would probably mostly be the same list from last year. So I gotta admit, this is the only one on my list that is from this year for best movies. I wanted to have at least one, and while there's maybe a little bit of a bias to this, it is
Uh-huh.
really good. The Belt Show.
Oh shit, I didn't even think to add it to mine. Fuck.
Yeah, the Belt Show, for those who don't know, is a project that Barroo and I were both involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And if I am searching Letterboxd right now, is still listed on there.
It's on
We-
Letterboxd.
it's on Letterboxd. It is over 2 hours long. It is. God bless whoever put this on Letterboxd and like immediately like got the timing on it right. It is art. It is an art. It is an experimental art film, and the only way, and it is again, personal bias, whatever. It is made by our friend
Yeah.
Kate Wirtz, but I can say that I'm not biased because I have been a fan of Kate Wirtz's work longer than I have known Kate by like several years.
Yes, same.
Being a fan of Kate's work is in part of the way we met because she also liked some other stuff I worked on, and that's how we started. Like that's how we met. But Belts is a VTuber debut film
Yes.
that is about Belts, the VTuber, deciding that she would like to exist and that you should give her money.
Yep.
It is. I don't want to be like it is like Inland Empire, but it is. It is a surreal experimental art film approach to it with music that Kate herself made, using
Yeah.
very heavily using lots of like just sampled material from like just an insane library of things that you wouldn't expect, like mostly commercials, since a huge part of it is about like like the rise of sort of parasocial commercialism and whatnot, and connecting VTubers to like a long lineage of like mascot characters,
Right.
but also just like remixing up like Kate's art going back like years. There's different she like jumps across like different art styles and mediums. There's a bunch of like really good moments where it's hard to tell what is live and what isn't. It is a performance. It is absolutely worth watching. It is available for free online. It is 2 hours. If you like what did Soldier Boy say about Braid? If you like getting high and watching
like-
stupid shit.
If you smoke weed and get high, if you drink and get drunk.
Yeah, if you smoke weed and get high, if you drink and get drunk, you'll love the Belt Show. It is so good. It is incredible. And like I said, bias, we did technically contribute to it.
Yeah.
In my full defense, I literally did not know what my contributions would be. I just kind of helped and contributed and created a lot of stuff, and then just had no idea when and where it would appear in the video.
Yeah, I wrote a song and then my song got used in the video, and that was also a surprise. Or like, it was asked to use the song, but then like the placement and like the context was a surprise to me. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful piece of work. The Belt show is really transcendent and fantastic, and has so many statements about like the autonomy of like a character and like how VTubing, like the death of the author stuff inherent to VTubing and all of this, like the effect where a lot of it was pre-recorded ended up being kind of this like really interesting thing to watch live, because it was Belt like trying to exist and trying to kind of communicate, and people like really trying hard to communicate back, but like the chat not reflecting in like the actual video of like what the chat is saying in the video. So
Uh,
like
my favorite parts are when people in the chat would see what the chat in the video is saying and would start repeating it.
yeah, try to match
So
up with
that
it.
so that it would become this weird moment of a chat of an audience reacting and creating a fake mirror to mirror their fake like avatar within the video within the film. It is legitimately like probably the only piece of VTuber art that I that has been made. Closest probably only to Germa's Sims stream in terms of taking the concept of like modern streaming stuff and turning it into an art form.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, our friend Robbie also did a pretty good VTube reveal stream that was just a 3D scanned version of him.
Oh yeah, green screened into his own room.
Yeah. One of the funniest fucking things.
Yeah, no, this was like it was incredible how this was a year of everybody getting into streaming and VTubing and stuff, and then how quickly people just started like going fucking apeshit with it and
Yeah.
figuring out like, okay, what can you do with these concepts? Like
Yeah.
how far can you push the boundaries of the idea of VTubing or the idea of like streaming video games for the internet?
Yeah, absolutely. So good. That's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Highly recommend watching the Belt Show. Highly recommend engaging with all of Kate's work. Kate's
Yeah.
been on here before. We did an episode about Blair Witch with her.
Yes, go check out the Blair Witch Throws It Back episode.
Yeah. Again. So that was my number 5, just because I wanted at least one thing from this year. And I feel like that's something where it's like, well, we didn't do a Film Critters on it already, and I've been making other people watch it, and it's extremely hard to be like, so the thing you need to know about this is that for about several months this was promoted as a VTuber premiere. And very much so just treated in all of that as if it was just going to be like maybe at most like a talk show sort of format.
Yeah. And like the fact that it like kept going, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
Like that's something that like people kind of put in their Letterboxd reviews that they pointed out was just like, yeah, no one really expected this to just kind of keep going for hours and hours.
which is what streams do as well. Like it's such a great, making it as long as it is absolutely part of it, because it's like, you know, you watch a stream and suddenly you're like, oh, I've been watching this person die in Gex for 5 hours.
Yeah.
And that but instead of that, you get to watch like weird experimental like metal media and like some really, I don't want to give away like some of the cool visual stuff, but there's some like really cool visual editing and just like formats, like Kate just experimenting with all possible video forms that she could in this video. It's really good. I highly recommend it.
The music is incredible too. Go download the soundtrack.
Oh yeah, great soundtrack.
Oh, so good.
I'm just now noticing on the Belt Show Letterboxd, cast is listed as Kate Wirtz, but then when you float over it, it credits her as Belts. because she played Belts.
That's amazing. She wasn't the only one who played Belts.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's really that. Even just that, like, just and like that's the thing that's like a really subtle detail. But if you pay close enough attention to while watching it, there are technically several people who play Belts throughout the course of the video.
Yeah, really good.
One of the best artists currently living.
Yeah, one of the best doing it.
Give Kate your money. Give
All
her an
of
Adult
it.
Swim show. Give just go support her work. But I don't want this to just be me promoting me doing the thing I do whenever I get drunk and start talking about Kate's work, which is I shut up about it for 2 hours.
Every night of my life.
Number 5 worst. Um, Worst genre of music possible is now the worst movie. Is now the 5th worst movie I've seen of the year. Deep House.
Fuck.
Um, Deep House is not objectively. Deep House is not the worst. It's not like the. It's not like there's a lot of movies I watched this year that objectively are far worse.
Sure, yeah.
But Deep House gets a special place on this list because the premise is that it's the premise. By the way, released maybe a month after the whole Gabby Petito thing. Not intentional. It was definitely postponed in the release date because of the Gabby stuff. Gabby Petito being the travel vlogger who disappeared and then
Yes.
her boyfriend did it. Of these travel bloggers, a woman and her boyfriend disappearing.
Oh my god!
But they don't disappear while hiking. What they do is they go underwater into a haunted house that's in the lake. So it's different. It's not the mountains.
Okay.
It's in a lake.
So wait, are they divers? Is this like a diving?
So this movie starts if you see her practicing diving and like holding her breath for a really, really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like that thing in Possession, but it actually ends the same way as it does in Possession.
Oh, interesting.
So it's the concept, as dumb as it is, I was like interested in, because it's like, okay, you're doing the trapped in a haunted house spooky found footage style film and you're setting it underwater.
Yes.
That's got like a lot of visual potential.
Mm-hmm.
It is just a bog standard haunted house film. There is basically like outside of the time pressure of we're running out of oxygen and like a few moments here and there.
Yeah.
Very little of the scary stuff in the film needs to be set underwater to work. In fact, it being set underwater usually ends up working in its disadvantage because it ends up being like, well, we got to figure out a way to do this extremely boring standard scare. So the zombies ghosts can just walk underwater like normal. I'm gonna hide under a bed.
Right.
Underwater. I'm being chased by something scary, so I'm gonna go into this room. I'm underwater, can move literally any direction I want, and I'm gonna hide under the bed. In the house that's underwater.
I mean,
and then it's the same jump scare where it's like, and then it looks under the bed and finds you, where it's like, this didn't need to be under a lake. And that's why it's on here, because it's like there's so much like effort and like time and energy. Like you have to sink, like to make this work involves like sinking so much resources and planning and skill into it. And then to do all that and just not do anything interesting with the concept is like really depressing.
House underwater sounds pretty complicated. That sounds like a tough setup.
Right? Yeah. Like it's that is because like I'm assuming you have to do a lot of miniatures, you have to do a lot of sets. You can't like CGI the people being underwater. Your actors have to actually be underwater for all of their performance, basically.
Right.
And so you just would imagine that you'd want to do something with that. Even if they did stuff where it's like we're working within the limitations of that, I would have a lot more respect for it, even if I didn't like it. but it's the fact that it's like you're going out of your way to just film a literal bog standard horror film, but it's underwater, which means you just spent more time and effort and money to give me another boring haunted house movie.
Right.
The one thing I did like is that there's a drone, like a little camera drone that they have in the movie, and when it goes evil mode, its light turns red.
Oh,
Also, it goes
good.
evil mode several times in the film for some reason.
That's such a like Resident Evil, like AI going bad. Like that's
There's I don't know why it does it. It's like, uh-oh, the ghosts are around, and now our drone is evil. It's
mhm.
red. The light is red. We gotta get out of here.
That is some
It's
goofball shit.
it is such a goofball movie. Um, yeah, no, I watched it with friends of the pod, Lonnie and James, and I just remember us just watching it and being like, this is like tragically boring, especially for like watching it with somebody who like has a fear of like structures underwater,
Right, yeah.
like the idea of being trapped in them. Like one of them has that, and they were like bored watching it. Like that's how much you failed your concept. Is that the mere concept of the film made them uncomfortable and anxious, and then you bored them.
Well, that one scene in Alien Resurrection was enough to give me panic attacks about being underwater where there's no air. You know what I
Right?
mean? Like, if that
It's
is
such
able
a
to do it, how do you drop the ball on a whole movie about that?
it is such a like ready-made concept to add so much like element to it, and they really just use it to add a degree of like, oh, we're trapped in this house and there's a time limit because if we don't get out of here in time, we'll drown.
Oh my
Which is
god.
like not really any different than most haunted house films. It's like, oh, if we don't get out of here in time, we'll
Yeah.
starve or whatever.
We'll get grabbed by the ghouls.
Yeah, we'll become possessed. Which actually is also like the thing in the film. It's like, oh, if we don't escape in time, we'll get possessed. They
Hmm.
also follow an eel around for some reason because they're like, how'd this eel get in here? The eel must know the way out.
An eel.
Ignoring the fact that an eel can like, I assume, go under cracks. And it probably is a much easier time moving through objects that a human body cannot.
Eels, yeah, they're more suited. You know, they're more agile, they're more mobile, I think, than we are. That sounds really fucking bad. That
Yeah,
sounds
it is real disappointing. That's why it's number 5
number 5.
on my
Well,
list of 5 most disappointing films.
I wanted to tell you about a couple of things I saw this year.
Yeah.
Uh
What would you say
uh-huh.
was your 5th best movie you saw this year?
The
Just throwing a
fifth,
number out there.
the fifth best film that I saw in 2021. Sorry everyone. None of these are from this fucking year. They're all pretty much old movies.
Yeah, there
Uh
wasn't a lot of. I mean, there was some good stuff that came out this year, but great.
yeah. I watched opening night by John Cassavetes, starring the inimitable Jenna Rollins.
I don't know anything about that other than that one song. Um, what's your take on Cassavetes?
What's your take on Cassavetes?
Misogynist,
Misogynist,
visionary.
genius. Yes.
Song.
What is my take on Cassavetes? He is a misogynist genius. I don't know. He's basically. So I first watched the first Cassavetes that I watched was Woman Under the Influence, which also had Jenna Rollins. Really, really, really amazing performance from both her and Peter Falk. It's the first time I watched it, I didn't really know how to react to it. It was definitely like it's a very, very spicy movie. Which is to say that it's very unflinchingly kind of about like female neuroses and male neuroses as well, for sure. But kind of how like the system comes down harder on female neuroses, especially in the situation with like mothers and things like that. It's a really, really difficult movie and a really difficult performance. So watching that, I was kind of, I was more primed and ready for opening night, and I was kind of ready for the tone of it, and it's something. It's so it was. I watched it, I feel like, kind of perfectly at the right time. Opening night is about Jenna Rollins plays a woman who is the lead in a play that is written by this older woman. The play is very cynical. It features like a lot of physical abuse on her character, and she kind of opening night is basically about her kind of unraveling throughout the rehearsal process, uh, and kind of about her objections with like the cynicism of the material that she's working with. Uh, and as she kind of unravels and has this like mental breakdown as the film goes on, uh, she starts to like they'll be on stage doing performances and she'll kind of go off the rails and start completely like improvising. Uh, and it's really spellbinding to watch, especially in the context of just like I definitely kind of scoured interviews to see like, you know, what's the deal, how much of this is improv, how much is like kind of written and prepared, and it kind of seems like it's just one of those really, it seems pretty planned out, but there's also just like so much breathing room that the material just naturally comes with so much breathing room for these performances that it just kind of transcends, and it becomes really interesting, and you're not sure how much is sort of not necessarily, I don't want to say real, but I don't know, it draws you in really effectively.
No, that sounds really good. That's also like not a Cassavetes I feel like I hear a lot about.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's one of them. It's like it's just part of the, you know, part of that group of movies that he worked on. But yeah, I've gotten totally obsessed with him. I think his stuff is really cool, and I'm chipping my way through. I'm chipping my way through the filmography, as it
Sh-
were.
I should watch real movies
Mm,
such as such as movies by John Cassavetes.
yeah, you don't
Hmm.
gotta.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, what's your current Cassavetes ranking? Like, what are your top three Cassavetes?
My ranking? Well, I don't actually think I've watched. I think those are the only two I fully watched. I started on Gloria, but I didn't finish it just because it was a very different lane from I would say my ranking is so like number 1 is Opening Night, number 2 is Women Under the Influence, and number 3 is the Columbo episode where Cassavetes is the murderer.
Is that a real episode?
That's a real fucking episode, and hey, it's a
That's
banger.
crazy. That's so funny. I did not
Yeah.
know that they did a Cassavetes murder episode.
They totally did. I think he's in a few he might be in a few episodes. But like yeah. Peter Falk is Columbo, yeah.
He strikes me as a big Columbo fan.
Oh, of course. Well, I mean, yeah, he was friends with Peter Falk, so and I mean Columbo's just good.
Yeah,
Columbo kind of, that's another thing that I kind of fell into this year.
Columbo's having a moment. He's having a comeback.
He's having a comeback. He's so sexy. Peter Falk is so sexy.
I unfortunately must also though ask this.
Yeah.
What is your fifth worst movie of the year?
Um, well, my fifth worst movie kind of comes prepackaged with it's another blonde woman film.
Oh,
A
nice.
lot of blonde women on my list this year.
I do love blonde women. Yeah.
I hate them.
What is it? What is it? Gentle, tender queers prefer blondes, right? That's the.
That's how the saying goes. That's how it's gone since the beginning of time. Um, yes, well, maybe not blonde. Well, okay. Anyway, this film comes with prepackaged with kind of an apology. We did not upload a video this year talking about Cruella, the Disney film, Joker for Girls.
Yes. And boy, is it Joker for girls. Which, if you remember our review of Joker,
Yeah.
not a compliment.
Joker for Girls. So Cruella makes it on my worst of the year list just because not only was the film so depressing that I became asleep many times, I became so depressed just by editing us talking about the film like secondhand that I had to scrap the entire episode. just because of the dark energies that were like flowing through the entirety of the project, and it was no bueno.
A really important detail. By the way, the only reason Krill was on my list was because I forgot that episode didn't come out. Um, a really important detail to note in the Cruella episode too is that Barroo and I are able to have a perfectly adequate conversation about the film and all of its plot beats, and Barroo slept through probably 40% of the movie because
I
you
did.
woke up literally anytime something happened, and then you would go back to sleep, and whatever you dreamt just filled in the holes perfectly because no fucking sequence of events in that movie follows after each other.
Yeah, I I found it was funny to listen back to the recording, and maybe I'll put it up someday. Uh, but just kind of like me being like, okay, let me guess, and then this happens, and then Jay being like, yeah, that then that happens. Uh, it's This year has been a really, really firm time for kind of pinning down like the sort of like shoveling gruel into your mouth sort of pacing that I am literally allergic to, like unable to metabolize. And it's very firmly like the Disney camp of films, very firmly.
It's I was gonna say it is a major reason why we haven't done things on like Mulan or like
Yeah. The
most of the
Lion
stuff that
King.
like the Lion King, like all the stuff that like film Twitter will talk about, where it'll be like people with letterbox blue check accounts being like, this movie is serving bisexual depression realness.
Yeah, like film.
Uh,
Where the fuck is the film critters for Eternals?
yeah, and then there's like the other half of film Twitter on that where it's like guys with the name like uh guys whose display name is something like the John Cassavetes of sexual abuse, be like quote tweeting those people and being like, I'm gonna kill myself on your front door, and then like a date and time.
Yeah.
Like basically two people that I both desperately need to transition so that they can shut the fuck up. Those people, the
and then they
movies
need to
that they,
kiss.
yeah, and then they need to kiss. And then they need to kiss me. No. And then basically all the movies that people like that talk about, we just have not done episodes on because
Hmm.
whenever we have tried to watch them, I get the realization that I could do literally. One of us is just like, I could do literally anything else except watch that. And keep in mind, dear listeners, that I just talked about watching all of Deep House.
Literally. Yeah.
Keep in mind the movies that I'm going to be talking about through the rest of this list, and that most of these are movies that I willingly sought out on my own to watch, and then consider that I did not want to watch even more than a fucking minute of Eternals. I saw screenshots from Eternals and I wanted to go to bed.
That's the fucking important thing though. Like if you look at like a Shudder turd, like a Tubi like piece of shit that is like in the back section of, whatever streaming service, like that at least has something that will hold your attention. There will be new information where it's like, oh, somebody had to make a choice. Somebody had to make a life or death artistic, creative choice decision. The two paths split off in a yellow wood. Did they take the path less traveled in Mosquito from 1993? It sure seems like they did. Whereas like those same creative and artistic decisions in these like focus tested films, that your neurons have already like fired in that direction within the first 5 minutes of the film. So it's almost just like, I don't know what
They
they
are all
want.
movies where if you want us to do a review of them, we could just pick a random 20-minute chunk of the film and then tell you everything you need to know about it, because it is not a marble cake. It is not a character arc. It is not a development of stories. It is a series of gift sets waiting to,
Literally.
and whatever 20 minutes of gift sets we get in that could probably give you a good sample of what the rest of the film is. Remember when fucking Cruella had a song play literally every other minute.
Oh my
I
god.
think there was maybe a total of 10 minutes in that film where people were talking and a fucking song wasn't playing underneath it.
A licensed like $1 million song that Disney has like the exclusive rights to now or
And not
whatever.
even like a banging soundtrack of it. Like
Yeah.
the Pandora station of your office job in 29 in like 2009. That is the fucking soundtrack to the movie.
It's literally like, oh, I just walked into a Starbucks. Okay, what's
Yeah,
all right. This is okay. I wasn't expecting this vibe.
I just asked a Chili's manager to list just songs he could think of, and that is the soundtrack to Cruella.
Yeah, it's really shameful. I mean, I don't know. I whatever. If it's what the people want, right?
I mean, I guess they want us to watch it so that they don't have to, but I feel like
Yeah.
the problem is at a certain point with a lot of these films, we just kind of are repeating ourselves because we're just really living in the. And it's like you know, a lot of people get mad, whatever, about Disney, and again, the people who desperately want a job being paid to post on Letterboxd or whatever
Oh
will
god,
be
yeah.
like, people target Disney because of XYZ social justice issue that the Disney CEO has said. Which
Shut
should
the
right
fuck
off
up
the
about
bat,
it.
which should right off the bat tell you like to shut the fuck up. Fucking CEO Bob Iger fucking probably came down to Bell Hook's house to fucking put an end to her because he knew she was about to say something.
Yeah.
Like, shut the fuck up. Read literally actual writing from marginalized people and not movies that are like the same movie being made over and over, but wearing like the language of social justice as like some sort of fucked up skin.
Yeah, it's really a lot of that stuff is just really sickening. I mean, especially Cruella will not be the first like girl boss entry into my worst films of the year.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
no, it's
it was
oh
a
there's
tough year for that shit.
I just looked at it. There are 3 girl boss entries on mine.
I think we have I think we have a few of the same ones.
But, yeah. What was the other thing I was gonna say that fucking pissed me off? Oh yeah, like I remember even just seeing a post, and like you can have whatever opinions you want on who's the Eternals director. It's not. Is it Kathy?
Mm.
Because there's also the woman
Bitch, I
who
have no
directed.
idea.
Well, because there was 2 directors that were picked up from doing good movie. Chloe Zhao, Kathy, I think it's Kathy Yun, is the one who did the Harley Quinn movie after making
Oh
real
yeah,
movies,
that one was okay.
and then
That one was
got picked
okay.
up to make it. Yeah, that one was okay. Uh, it still was like very sad to be like, wow, here's a real director, and now they will never make another movie again.
Oops.
So I know that Chloe Zhao is like very divisive. I've not seen Nomad Land because it looked bad as well. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I remember people being on Twitter being like, "Oh, like people are saying like this is like another, you know, like post-processed whatever," and they would like post like comparison shots to be like, "No, look, it looks just like Nomadland." And I felt fucking insane because without even maximizing the pictures, I could tell you which one was from which because the Eternals ones looked demonstrably worse. The Eternals ones looked like movie posters.
Rough stuff.
Nomadland at least looks like a fucking movie.
Yeah. Yeah, Nomadland
uh,
has content and things that it seems to be about.
it sounds it's not a movie I was particularly interested in seeing because it sounded very like poverty tourism-y. But
Yeah.
like, you know, a movie doesn't have to be good to still be a movie. The
Mm-hmm.
Eternals isn't even a fucking movie. Anyway, we're getting off topic here.
Yeah. What was let's switch back. Let's switch places
Let's
again.
back. Okay. Match cut.
Yay!
Uh,
What was your fourth best film of the year? Would you say?
okay. So, wow. This is really funny considering the big rant I just did. So do you remember? Do you know the horror film Black Christmas? like the classic 1979 one.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It's like kind of considered a precursor to like the slasher film genre.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love that
Along with
movie.
Peeping Tom. So I've actually already seen that one, like a few years ago. So number 4 on my list is Black Christmas 2006. Uh,
Okay.
because I have been obsessed with it. Because like I was going down my list and I was like, I can't put Black Christmas 2006 on here, but I have like thought about it, and it's like, when did I fucking see this movie? I didn't even give it a high star. I gave it like 3.5 stars. I saw it in, and I still can't stop thinking about it
Yeah.
because it is such a like. The same director also did the Willard remake, which is apparently really fucking good.
Oh,
So
yeah, that remake's a
I
lot of fun.
yeah. So like I am at least holding that like this is consistent. This isn't a fluke. The Black Christmas 2006 remake is just a fun movie. So earlier this year we also did the House of Wax episode, and I had Black Christmas on that list because it's, to me, like a great sister film in that it just says fuck the original. Not in a like deconstructivist way. Just be like, do you want to watch Black Christmas 1979? Go fucking watch it.
Yeah, pussy.
It's on DVD. It's 2006. Hollywood Video and Blockbuster are still alive. You can just go and rent the movie. This is the 2006 version. In our version of the movie, Billy has back lore, and part of his lore is that he's yellow.
What the fuck? Why?
It is so fucking fun. It is such a fun movie. And that's why I had to put it on my list, because like I was just like doing, like this was kind of near the tail end of me doing a thing where I was like, and I started this during quarantine in 2020, 100 years ago, of
Yeah.
like marathoning like horror series. And so for one of them, I was like, oh, I'll do all three. I'll do the 3 Black Christmases, because there's the original and then there's been 2 remakes. And I got to 2006 and I was just like, fuck, this is like really fun. Like every other movie that I'd been watching, once it got to the 2000s, it was like a fucking slog to get through. And then
Right.
this is one where it's just like, oh, here's just a movie that's just like, we're going to use kind of the same plot beats, but we're going to like completely tell our own story with this. And it's just a really, I think it is a super competently well-made mid-2000s slasher, and is probably one of the best from that era.
That's fucking awesome. Yeah, the
Yeah.
2000s was like this almost like high energy, like quasi Bollywood, like ridiculousness era for a lot of genres, but especially like horror and like butt rock horror.
Yeah, it's like that whole like the butt rock like new metal era of horror, where it's just like, and I feel like part of what makes revisiting it so fun is that like that era is kind of having a moment right now with like the like mall goth revivalism, the obsession with Midwest emo coming back. A lot of these things I feel like are having a moment, and I want mid 2000s really goofy over the top horror films to have a moment too, because they're kind of like the postmodernism thing where it's like, okay, these genres have been so deconstructed. How do you return to horror? How do you just make
Yeah.
a horror now? And the answer is you just say fuck it. You just go really over the top of it. And you have a bunch of fun. And I think so it's on my list for top 5, not because it was like the 4th best movie I saw. Plenty of movies I saw this year were absolutely better movies. But
Sure,
it is the
yeah.
one that I keep thinking about because it just so caught me off guard how much fucking fun it was.
That's spectacular. That's good to hear. Yeah.
You know what also caught me off guard?
What?
Number 4 on my list for worst movies.
Yes.
Censor.
Ooh. Oh wow, really? That bad?
It's so this is like an interesting one where it's like when I first watched it, I kind of was like, that was bad. But the more I've thought about it, the more upset I am by how bad it is.
Okay, yeah, one of those.
Because it's like, first off, and I think I mentioned this in the episode where we briefly talked about it, the fact that it ends with like stuff that is more a product of modern creepypasta video stuff like, oh, here I am in my happy ending, but then like the video feed like cuts in a little bit and like people instead of smiling are screaming or whatever, and it's like, here's
Yeah.
what's actually going. That's not video nasties. That's internet horror. That is post Slenderman creepypasta shit.
Yeah, that's off mark.
Yeah. And so like that to me just betrays how much this like movie using the video nasty like aesthetic and concept doesn't really come off like it's coming from a place of like sincere engagement with that. And
Hmm.
it's like the concept is really good. Make a video nasty about the video nasty era. This woman whose job it is to be a censor, because like, oh, these movies like they bring out the evil in people, and she has her own like weird repressed stuff and is like maybe a little crazy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of potential in the ideas there. And it just ends up being just another fucking sloppy toppy cerebral horror.
Don't say that, but I mean, yeah. But I sense censor. It, it seems like it has the possessor problem where it's like, I want this to be good.
Right? Yeah, no, and like that's I think that's why it ended up on my list, was because I was so excited for Censor. And so at first I thought I was just let down, but it has just become a thing where it's like, just the more I think about it, the more I'm like, God, that was like a really bad movie. And even worse, it's like a bad movie for like a really good concept.
Yeah, that's the worst.
It's like I think it's because it feels like it's trying to anticipate a video nasty revivalism off of the back of the work of mostly internet artists who aren't making movies but are making like video games.
Yeah. Yeah, that's different.
Like they're making like, like a Puppet Combo. I highly recommend Puppet Combo's work. Like
Oh yeah.
there's so many games where it's like there's this fusion of PlayStation and PlayStation 2 era revivalism, and then like a lot of influence from video nasties, where it's obviously people who like, when they were young enough for that era, that was the two big horror things that they had access to, were like old like 80s like gross out like straight to video horror films, and like PlayStation games. And so there's like a really sincere love and approach to like reusing and remixing those aesthetics. And then this is just like another movie about some woman being like, I trauma makes you think.
Oh god. Yeah, you're telling me, lady.
Um, I don't know. I'm sick of horror. I'm sick of horror films about trauma. No more.
Ari Aster.
Because horror is already about trauma. So stop making it about trauma. Just make a movie. Just make the horror film. It'll be about trauma.
Yeah, it'll be that way. It'll go that direction by default. That's understandable.
Great
Um
review from this person. I love to follow on Letterboxd, who said, "Congrats on the 35 millimeter, but this looks like Riverdale." About censor.
Oh fuck, that's damning. That's horrifying.
Barroo, what was your fourth best movie of the year?
My fourth best movie that I saw in 2021. I watched a movie called Rapture. Uh, the
Oh,
original Spanish title, Arrebato.
that was very good. I also saw that movie and I really liked it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was stunned by it. It spoke to me. It is a 1979 movie by Ivan Zulueta. It also features, funnily enough, Pedro Almodovar does like a voice acting role.
Right, I forgot that he has that weird little cameo in it.
He has a weird cameo where he does ADR for like some woman character. It's really really funny.
Yeah.
Uh, but
really
Rapture.
bad ADR too, which is really funny. Just because I remember like laughing at that part, just like imagine the disrespect. Like, like you go to see this movie you're in, and they just completely redubbed you.
And all of a sudden you're Almodovar and not your no longer yourself. I wonder if they just couldn't book her for the sessions or something. I don't know. Uh Rapture's a little tough to describe. It's basically a film about a heroin addict artist who meets another heroin addict artist in his weird little house in the country. Uh and they have these like really intense and obsessive discussions about art, and there's these sort of hints throughout the movie that there's like vampire or like ghost involvement or something, but like it has a lot to do with like the film form. uh i I don't know, it worked its magic on me. It's a really kind of like slow and methodical movie. It's like really it's movie fanboy shit for sure. Like, you know, if you've ever made a home movie, whatever, it's kind of about like the sort of weird superstitions around like capturing images in time, and how that time is like not the current time, and how that's kind of scary. Isn't that scary?
God, I love the just this like weird filmmaker twink, just like freaking the fuck out that he can't figure out how to capture what he sees, which is such a
Yeah.
like powerful image.
Oh, it's so beautiful and incredible. He's so clearly like, yeah, one of the main characters in this film is like this very mentally ill gay little twink, um, who is just like very like curious and impenetrable and really intense, but like kind of alluring and all of this. I don't know, like he's this very like honest interpretation of like a type of obsessive, who's like just totally devoted to like the art form that they think about like every second of their life. There's a wonderful letterboxd review from one of my friends, Marlo Mogensen, who is an Australian cartoonist, comic creator, made a amazing 85-page Sonic fan comic this year called Spikes, which you can find
I
on
would call
Itch.io.
it a Sonic bootleg comic
Yeah,
rather than a
absolutely.
fan comic. Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of a
because
yeah, it's more
because I
bootleg.
think he has specifically said that it's not fan art because he actually hates. I don't think he actually likes Sonic. I think he just likes stealing character designs,
Yeah, it's
which
very
good.
removed.
Yeah,
But like, yeah, go download Spikes. It's free, but you should pay 20, 50, 100, 200, $5 million for it. Um, but Marlo had this fantastic letterboxed review that I'll try to paraphrase, but it's just like pontificating about how like this is kind of it's kind of like this very sort of autistic tradition of just like showing your ass through art, kind of ostensibly for your crush, but as kind of like a metaphor for like trying to communicate to the world and trying to communicate through art. um and how art is like a much bigger tool sometimes than we really take into account. Like it art is truly like very extremely powerful, uh and doesn't really have limitations or whatever. So it's you know, there's this feeling throughout the movie that they're like playing with these forces that are like outside of their comprehension and control and things like that. And I think that's really important to like the sort of metaphorical, you know, the metaphor, dude, of what they're fucking talking about with the movie, dude.
yeah. I mean, and there's absolutely this way in which it's sort of like he uses art not as like a supplement to empathy, but as a way to sort of express a desire for empathy by trying to find the ways to communicate it.
Yeah.
And my favorite sequence in that, to sort of like signify that, is when he is trying to basically hypnotize his crush's girlfriend so that he can fuck her boyfriend. Um, and he lambasts himself for making the incorrect assessment of what item to put in front of her while she's on drugs,
Oh my
because
god.
he's like, I thought it would be this image from her childhood that she would really relate to, but I completely misjudged and she only vaguely recognized it. And then he just replaces it with this shitty little Betty Boop doll posed in this exact way, and it enraptures her for literally hours.
Yeah.
And his whole point is basically that, like, this is an image that, like, we share a very specific memory in childhood with, and by putting it in front of her, she becomes enraptured because she's like feeling seen by a piece of art in a way that she has never felt before. And that is like what he is spending the entire film trying to capture, is the idea of being seen by art,
Yeah.
which the film then quite literalizes with the entire metaphor of the camera seeing something for a brief second and him trying to capture it longer and longer, knowing that once it finally sees him, he might just completely disappear.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's so much that the movie's playing with like trying to escape the construct of time, because my reading of it was like that's the thing that he's horrified by, is like ultimately the passage of time, and how that kind of like separates that from himself, or like he separates from his own perspective and from like the moments that he saw, the things that he saw that inspired him. So it's like, I don't know, just this like neurotic control freak personality that like totally works with like the sentiment of the film and like what it's trying to kind of um the mood that it's trying to create around its attitudes around that sort of artistic process. Yeah,
Also,
Rapture.
definitely a lot of loaded imagery and metaphors about heroin addiction and
Yeah.
relating it to art. Which is relevant to the director, who, if I remember correctly, was also a heroin addict who ended up succumbing to his illness.
Yes. Apparently a huge thing. Almodovar touches on it in his movies as well. But yeah, heroin apparently big in Spain. Who knew? Big everywhere, I guess. Big here
Uh,
too.
yeah,
But
very sad story, and very sad to hear about. But it is very interesting how much he creates this like art, and like art as addiction and like this consumption thing, but not in this like edgy, like, oh man, art is like a religion, is like a drug. It's very much
yeah.
so just like my desire and need to like communicate and make art and make these images that might be absolutely meaningless to anybody but me, but I need to find one person who will understand them. Uh is literally identical to the feeling I feel when I'm going through heroin withdrawal.
Yeah, that shit is so interesting. It's a really really layered work, and it does so much. Especially with just the conversations that the characters have about the nature of art and blah 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 blah. It's really really interesting. They were doing a tour of it 4K this year. Can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's been touring the country. I'm sure it's probably got like a really good fucking Blu-ray release at this point. I
Mm-hmm.
almost put that one on my list as well, but I decided I didn't think I had as much to say about it. Turns
Right.
out I was wrong. That is a really good movie.
I will say that movies that did not enrapture me, my fourth worst film of the year, um, was definitely a toss up. There's two that I was considering. One is called Jumbo. It is about objective sexuality. Another is
Oh, yeah, that was one of the ones that you watched. That was one of the few films that I made Brew watch before I watched it to decide if we should do an episode.
yeah, and I was like, hell, fucking no, we're not. Uh, or I can't actually remember what I said because I just hated it so fucking much.
I think you just said that you didn't want to like talk. Let me. You definitely said something to the extent of like, we could watch it, but it's just gonna piss you off, and it's gonna piss me off having to think about this movie anymore.
Yeah, literally. Uh, and then it's kind of a similar situation with a film called The Power, which also came out this year. Um, which the power is a haunted house sexual assault metaphor. Uh,
Power. I don't remember that one at all.
it's a
Keep
horror.
going.
Yeah, it's like a horror film. It might be on Shutter even. I can't remember, but um the power was a fucking piece of shit. It's just an annoying, a very annoying like ghost possession rape metaphor that like possession is already about that thematically. Never mind. But I decided that
It
Jumbo is way worse.
doing the thing that we were just talking about earlier with censor, where it's like I've decided to make this theme and this horror into art
Yeah.
by doing the thing that it's already always been, but I'm making it more obvious and boring now.
Literally, actually, genuinely, that describes the power. But Jumbo was more infuriating, so I guess I'll talk about Jumbo. Uh, Jumbo is a French film starring, oh god, it stars that
Already
one
one
bitch.
strike already.
Yeah, strike one. Jumbo stars the bitch from Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
That was it. Yeah, I remember that because that was what made me interested in it.
Yeah, yeah. It's about a shy young woman, so says the Letterboxd page, who has objective sexuality relationship with a like with a theme park ride. It's kind of hard to describe the ride. It's some sort of like weird roundabout thingy. Uh but it so like I would say that like an art film about objective sexuality, like I am on board if it's like the right attitude, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if it's properly curious, if it's willing to explore things that are interesting about, the concept. But like there's a way to talk about it. I feel like there's a way to make a movie about objective sexuality that expands it to kind of create a way that's like that's very easy to relate to objective sexual identified people, uh by kind of stretching their experience writ large across human experience. Jumbo kind of tries to do that, but it's literally boys don't cry kind of. Like it's boys don't cry, but instead of a trans boy, it's a thing. It's a park
it's a
thing.
it's a it's a uh
A theme park ride.
roller coaster fucker. Yeah.
Uh it is not good. It's not interesting. It doesn't ask any interesting questions. It's like it's it's like one of those movies that they make you watch in, I don't know what they called it for you. It was like what was it? There was basically a class that I had that was like this is the enrichment class, and what it amounted to was like watching movies like, I don't know, Friday Night Lights, or just any movie that involved like a white woman coming to a disadvantaged school and like
Oh God.
making people
Yeah.
clean up their act. That there was like a class that I took where it was like we just watched a bunch of movies that were like that. Jumbo is like one of those movies, but the whole time you're just like, what the fuck are we doing? Um,
I remember friend of the pod Mia talking about it and having a lot of very harsh words about it and about how it just kind of ends up using it to be about like weird neuroatypical people and not like I'm like okay I don't remember if we've talked about this movie before. Swallow is incredible and it uses Pika as a jumping off point to talk about other types of obsession and like
Swallow, yeah, 5 stars.
basically uses like kind of inverts the imagery of like a movie about an eating disorder almost,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of like using this idea of like this is the only thing she has control over is being able to eat like thumbtacks and stuff.
Right, yeah.
So you see a trailer for something like Jumbo and your thought is okay, it's going to be something like that. It's going to be using this real thing and it's going to be not interrogating it but being like what human impulse undergirds this kind of thing and how can I
Exactly.
use this to like tell a story that is about this but is also relatable to people who don't have this. And a lot of what I've heard about the film is that it's more like um the Chris Chan documentary.
It feels that fucking way. It's literally like, look at this autistic fucking weirdo who falls
Yeah,
in love with a fucking circus thing.
I would never do that.
Like,
I'm normal. I would never do
I
something
would
like that.
never. Imagine having some fucking like empathy in your
Yeah.
fucking heart for someone who like that's the thing about people who kind of like form these sort of like non-traditional like objective sexual relations. Like objective sexuality is not only it's okay, A, harmless completely and utterly. Um
Unless they actually try to like fuck the Eiffel Tower. That might be dangerous. Don't do that.
that would be dangerous, possibly counts as I guess indecent exposure if the cops are around or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, like, go for it, but like, also just be careful.
Yeah.
But
Just slap a strap on that baby.
uh, ooh, now I kind of want to fuck the Eiffel Tower. Now I'm thinking
Yeah.
about it.
Oh, Eiffel Tower kind of be playing around though.
If you like,
Oh,
if you
ooh.
if you get one of those like suction cup dildos and you put it on the Eiffel Tower, you're technically fucking a piece of history.
Yeah. Oh man, that is kind of hot. Yo, Eiffel with the Fildo though.
We have literally created more sympathy for objectum sexuals in the last 30 seconds than Jumbo attempts to do in its entire runtime.
And it's like you don't even have to make an empathetic character because like a movie that came out this year, Titan, is about that. It has
Oh my
that as a
God.
theme as well. She's a car fucker in that movie,
And it's
and it's
done
like
so well.
it's done really well. And she's also like, I'm not gonna give away too much. She's also like a fucking psycho. Like she's like an evil person within the film.
Yeah.
But like the
And it's
fact
a
that she
deeply
fucks cars, yeah,
by the text of the
just
film, it's like
part
a
of it.
deeply traumatic sexual experience, but it's also hot.
Yeah, it's also very much so just like this is another component of this person's like psychological profile, and instead of being like get a load of this guy, it's very like, hey, this is a reasonable part of this character's portrait.
Yeah.
Let's come dear viewer, let us take a trip into the human psyche using the power of images and sound.
Yeah. Jumbo was a piece of shit French nightmare, and it fucking sucked ass, and I hated it.
So my third best film, it's an unexpected one. Would not have expected this. So I know a lot of people, we have our famous Funny Games video, which is now not listed because of a certain director who shall not be named, because you'll get this video delisted as well. But the other director, Michael Haneke, did a film called Cachet, and that's number 3 on my list.
Oh shit! Wow.
Finally got to watch all of it, and you know what? It's good. I hate to say it, Haneke, good job.
That's interesting.
Oh, did you not like it?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen Cachet,
Oh, okay.
but I'll say that is interesting because I had a similar experience this year where I watched Happy End, which was another Hanukkah film, and I thought that was also really, really good.
Yeah, no, he's. I am willing to assume that Funny Games might just be a fluke because of what it is, and that his style and approach to filmmaking probably works better for other kind of things. Cachet being a sort of take on the thriller model, and I think it works just because a thriller model where the main character is actually just a piece of shit, and so this conspiracy that's against him, you actually don't feel empathy for him really. Isn't really that much of a like, ooh, I'm undermining your expectations. It's like, no, that's pretty normal thriller model, and it's really really good. It's a really good tense film, where it has less to do about you uncovering like this conspiracy and what's really going on, and more about the guy who's the target for the conspiracy and what's really going on with him. Just the way he like compulsively lies, and he actually reminds me a lot of you just watched this I just rewatched it recently, Killing of a Sacred Deer, the protagonist in that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Same sort of protagonist, just a dude who just reflexively lies and is trying to cover his tail for like shitty things that he's done in his past. The way the film kind of also connects that to a larger conversation about like I think it's French history and French treatment of Algerians in like when the main character would have been a child. It's really good. I like it a lot. I like a film that deals with the idea of guilt and specifically um, somebody who clearly doesn't so much feel guilt so much as just they refuse to take any responsibility or guilt for things, but they perform this like, oh, why I'm being expected to feel so much guilt for something that's not even my fault. Very much so, just like, oh, you don't feel guilt, and what you actually are afraid of is that people are going to realize that you don't actually feel like you did anything wrong, which you are realizing is far more damning than the fact that you did something wrong and then feel guilty about it.
Yeah. Okay, that's a really interesting interplay. I had been kind of wondering about like what the draw of that movie was and why people kind of put it like I don't want to say head and shoulders above other thriller stuff, but as far as like art house thriller stuff, Cachet is like up there.
Yeah, no, it is very, very good. I love the way in which, because the first establishing shot is revealed to be um a tape that the
Yeah.
characters are watching, how oftentimes you'll have a shot that sets up a scene and you're immediately unsure whether or not you're watching a tape or you're watching a scene in the film, because there will
Oh,
be specific moments that are like scenes in the movie that just like look like the same sort of tapes that he's getting. It's really, really good. I I,
that's
I
really
was very
cool.
pleasantly surprised with it. Yeah. Um it was one of those films where I got too exhausted to watch it all, and I was watching it with someone, and then the next day I was just like, "Fuck, I want to finish that." So I just went and finished it.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say about it just because it's like it is a film that has been talked about a lot, so I feel like it's very like
Mhm.
there's I don't know how much I can necessarily add to it, especially without spoiling anything about the film, but it is very, very, very good, and I do love a film that is just about someone who is a piece of shit unrelentingly being so.
Yeah, that stuff's pretty good. That's always really fun. The sort of like fable.
Yeah, and how much of the film where like knowing things doesn't that in a normal thriller would be like kind of the point is like the reveal is very much so just like, well, it doesn't really matter. Like it doesn't matter who's sending this. It doesn't matter who knows what. It doesn't matter what these things are, because that's kind of secondary to what the film is like actually about.
Mhm. Mm.
And so you don't really learn any of those things.
That's
Um,
fucking cool.
yeah,
I
really,
I
really
love a
liked it.
movie
Great
that cuts
performances. Sorry, what?
Oh, I like a movie that cuts out unnecessary information.
Yeah, no, it does. It just it lets you wallow in this guy's shitty behavior and all, and like that's really what's the most important part of it, is like his psychological profile is what it is actually about. And so information that would be like, there's pieces there so you could probably piece together and guess things, but it's also like there's intentionally stuff put in there where it's like, well, it can't actually be this person. And there's also ways in which like there's certain moments with the tapes that they're getting where it's like, how would this tape have been recorded without him seeing it?
Right, yeah.
Um, a popular theory is like, oh, the tapes are coming from the director themselves, which is like, I don't know, that's a little too YouTubey explainy for me. Like it's more, I
Yeah.
think that the tapes are a manifestation of this like kind of intruding thing, and somebody is probably making them, but because they are more of a representation of that, they can kind of be less grounded by the rules of actual surveillance.
Yeah. Yeah, more sort of more representative of like a conscience or something like that, kind of
Oh,
weird interplay.
and given the use of like like race dynamics are a huge part of that, and the use of the police and whatnot are a huge part of that. So the way in which part of the film is like surveillance being turned on the people upon whom surveillance is used to keep safe, especially the context of when the film was made and came out, really
Mhm.
good, really good.
Damn.
Less so in a like, wow, people didn't care about surveillance until white people were affected kind of stuff, but more about just like the way in which like people's assumptions about, particularly conservative assumptions about how these things will be used, and how they don't really consider that they are also being surveilled. It is a factor in the film's story as well.
Mm. Fuck yeah. I'm gonna check that out. How about your third worst movie?
Oh, another shitty horror film about trauma. The Jinn. I am tired of movies that are just about a mom who killed herself. I'm
But
done
that's
with
so
it.
scary when a mom kills herself. It's so scary.
The worst the last movie I got to see in theaters before the pandemic was fucking The Lodge, which was the same thing, and I think it was on my list last year because of that. And The
Uh,
Jinn was just that again, and I was very mad about it because I was like, "Ooh, a horror film about a kid and an evil genie."
mm.
That's actually like a demon. It's like they kind of try to get around the fact that it's just it's just stupid. It's fucking dumb. I hated it. I don't really need to go
Damn.
into it. I included it more so because I was just like, what is up with this genre of like bad horror film and the like a mom killing herself is like the worst thing you can think of. Not that it's not like bad. It's just I'm just like, why do so many of these use that specifically as the jumping off point?
Well, kind of artificially injecting gravity into a very stupid concept, which is to say that like a genie is a very stupid concept. A djinn is a very stupid concept. Um,
Yeah,
so if a mom kills herself at some point in the story, you're gonna be like, well, all right. I guess I'll try to take this more seriously than I
just watch
would.
Wishmaster. It's just a better version of the same sort of story.
Holy shit. Yeah, Wishmaster owns. Why not?
Wait, now there's a good movie about a genie.
All right. Well, if you truly don't have much to say about the Jinn,
I don't. I included it because of that. It's just a severely boring film otherwise.
R.I.P. the Jinn. You should have been better. You fucking dumb
Yeah,
movie.
that's my wish. What was your third best movie that you saw in 2021?
The third best movie that I saw this year was Jean Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast,
Oh.
which was one of the most stunning things I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. It came out in, I want to say 1946. So it was literally right after the German occupation of France like ended. They basically started work on this film like practically day one, it seems like. And uh holy fucking shit. Not only is this one of the most beautiful movies I've seen, period. I would also say this controversial opinion, hot take,
Yeah.
uh, hottest rendition of the Beast ever, ever.
Is that why it's number 3?
That's abso-fucking-lutely that's why it's number 3. Are you kidding me? Okay, let me explain something about this movie. There is a part in this film, and I'm really sorry, this is spoiler. Here, I
Spoilers for Beauty and the Beast.
I don't know how to convince, like, pause and watch it if you haven't seen it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's a movie from 1946 that whooped my ass in 2021. That's like, if that's not enough to pause this video, go fucking watch it right now. Then, then the next thing that I tell you, which is a huge fucking spoiler, will be enough to convince you to do that, which is that, the Beast, not a huge spoiler, we all know the story. He turns into a man at the end of the fucking movie. But Beauty in this rendition is like, oh, ew, change back. Like, she basically, and she has this line that's very specifically like, I'll have to get used to it. This isn't what I was expecting. I was expecting the Beast, and I fell in love with the Beast. And Jean Cocteau wrote in this thing that came with the Criterion release, there's like a thing that he wrote that was like, everybody said the same shit, that they were like devastated when he became a human. Because he's so sexy. He's like,
That's so funny.
he shows up, the first frame that you see him, he has like this insane looking effect where his eyes just like flash, and it startles you. There's so much about like the sort of like traditional effects of this movie that like physically just like startles and shocks you because it's just so like there's drawing and there's like set design where like there's like arms coming out of the wall and people's heads and faces coming out of the wall, and just like it's really 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 lush, and it's something that I did not expect for 1946, obviously, like a long, very 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 long time ago, 80 years ago almost. So yeah, it really knocked me on my ass. It's so about like it's so beautifully about like being a woman and falling in love, and like it really like it is about these things. It's about desire, it's about like beauty, it's about um isolation, and I don't know. It's beautiful. It's just like one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. That's all I can say about it, really.
That does sound really good. All right, all right.
Yeah,
I'm moving it up my list.
all monster fuckers, check in. If you've
Monster fuckers is some monster fuckers. Grab your novelty adult products, like
yeah,
the old Tumblr post about the like Hulox. Grab your whatever.
the super hulox, Harry Potter heads, grab your uh
Grab your copies of the Transsexual Empire.
yeah. Fucking Beauty and the Beast, so sexy, so beautiful, so special. Just a stunning, fucking stunning movie. And I really lament the fucking fact that kind of within the same breath I have to talk about my next movie.
Your worst film for the third.
My third
Your
worst.
unsexy pick of
Very
2021.
very profoundly unsexy, just from all angles. I don't want to talk too much about Run, Hide, Fight. It's pretty clear.
We did an episode on it.
We did an episode about it. You can go listen to it. It's pretty clear they want as much attention as possible. They want our attention, right? They want to upset. They want to trigger the libs. Are we triggered, Jay? Have you been triggered by Run, Hide, Fight?
Yeah. Triggered to take a fucking nap.
Triggered to turn off this fucking piece of shit movie.
I was just thinking about that film today. Specifically the part where there's like that line where the guy, like the incel, or like the guy who with like a small penis or whatever shooter, is like going on his big rant about how everyone was laughing at him constantly, and the girl's response is, "Did you ever think that maybe they were just having fun?" And like the way it's delivered at first, like the implication is that she's like, "Did you ever think that maybe it was really funny to make fun of you?"
Hey, did you ever think that maybe the fucking thing you did was like actually cringe and fail?
Yeah. Did you ever think that like maybe they should have laughed at you?
Maybe they were like right, and you should just accept that people are right about you, and that you're like a little worm. You're a little worm man, worm boy, piece of shit, trash baby.
It's incredible that in a film about school shooters where the lead one is very clearly Bo Burnham, that the most offensive thing in the film is still its depiction of mental illness.
Yeah, it's really
With like the weird like kid who's supposed to be schizophrenic but is written like the fucking Of Mice and Men character.
Oh yeah. No, literally
Like it is not written like a kid with schizophrenia, but it's
just One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, like character
it's
actor.
fucking domed. It's just like fucking shot through the head.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to be like, I mean, like, yeah, he's trying to kill the main character, but it's still just like, oh, thank God they killed the kid who is depicted as literally not knowing where he is.
The whole movie is like a 4chan green text, like "this happened to me today" post. Like that's
I spilled my spaghetti in front of the school shooter. I will give the film this slight slow clap. It's really good to see female school shooter representation.
She was so fucking unrealistic though. She like
She was the it was the most like, it is so weird that a film that was made for Ben Shapiro's fucking Newswire thing had a diversity like had a diversity shooter.
fuck my life. The TikTok
Like,
shooter.
yeah, like the one situation in which like it would not really be that unrealistic for them all to be just white guys.
Mm-hmm.
And in your movie that is like, hey wokies, triggered, it's just like, don't worry, there's a girl one.
Hey, listen, school shooting goes across the gender binary, all right?
Was it her motivation just like she was goth? Like, what?
She
I
like
don't even remember what her motivation
she
was.
didn't have a fucking motivation. She was literally just like, oh, she's one of the dark kids. She's like a fucking
Yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas fan. She's a Hot Topic kid.
I know
I don't
she's
know.
like the sister of the schizophrenic one, because there's like that weird line that
The, like-
implies that the Bo Burnham guy is like having sex with both of them.
Yeah, this movie really tries to like one up Gus Van Sant's Elephant by like having an incest love triangle, which I think is inspiring.
Yeah.
I think that's
honest-
a level we can all aspire to.
I said this in our episode. This movie should have been way more offensive than it was. Like, that's what makes it so depressing, is that it's like, if this is what you're trying to go for, just go all the way. Don't.
Yeah, it was
Don't give
pussyfooting
me
around.
this. Yeah, don't give me this limp dick fucking movie. Go all the way. Give me the most cartoon character, like Joker-fied fucking like villains. Give me some like over the top. Recreate the fucking "Do you believe in God's" like Columbine myth. Just go all out.
Oh Lord, yeah, yeah. Fuck it up. Yeah, it's a really frustrating movie. It at least like I don't know. One thing that it has above like other films on this list is that it's like kind of trying to be a movie, but it's like not really wholeheartedly trying to be a movie because it is still like a screed. It is still, you know, a 4chan post, you know, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then I saved the day, and then my dad is American Sniper, and my mom is Captain America, and
And a ghost that I literally see.
Yeah.
And talk to.
Yeah, the ghost stuff was very, very funny. Yeah, very, very self-inserty piece of shit. Just absolutely. And also, you know, like we talked about it in the episode. Go listen. But I'm not gonna repeat my rant about the industry of like the fucking school shooter paranoia industry of like
Oh yeah.
defense expanding like hyper like insane defense tactics and like people who are trying to put guns in schools and just all of this fucking psycho shit that I hate. I hate it.
I think like, and it's so weird too, because it's like, it's ultimately the tact it takes is some weird thing of just like, we knew what you guys were gonna do because we sat in on the school shooting drill meetings.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's your big critique. Like that's your like, this got him.
Got him. They're never gonna expect us to have tactics and to think about the crime that we're committing. Yeah, not a very thoughtful
We
film.
set a shed on fire, so they'll never be able to stop us.
All right, enough of that shit. Enough of that fucking. Enough of a run height fight.
Enough.
No more.
Let's talk about something good. Let's talk about something good.
Let's talk about what was your number two? What was your number two best movie of the entire year?
A little Christopher Walken joint. What, you like disappeared? You like yelled so hard that the mic just like fucking like evaporated on my end.
That's funny.
But yes, I am talking about Communion.
That shit almost made it on my list.
That movie is so fucking good.
What a
I
fucking
cannot believe how
banger.
fucking good that movie is.
Oh my god, I was like stunned when I watched it.
it is that movie understands like sleep paralysis and like paranoia so fucking well.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Well, the thing that I was like stunned the most by about Communion is that it's just like it's just a fucking rip roaring time. Like it's I don't know, it presents itself as this sort of like horrifying Jacob's Ladder film that's like, oh, this could happen to you. And to be fair, there are so many parts of Communion that I watched and I was like, that's fucking scary as fuck. Like,
Oh my god, that movie is filled with shots that like are the specific genre of like shots that out of context aren't really scary, but in context are the most horrifying fucking shit.
yeah.
And I'm thinking like specifically the like alien peeking around the door, but
If
in a
that happened
way,
to me in real life, I would have a heart attack and die on the spot.
because like to be clear, it's not just that it's an alien peeking around the door. It's that as you're looking at it, you realize that there's not enough space between the door and the wall for something to be.
Yeah.
So it's just like immediately like this like fucking unnatural. Like it's not unnatural because there's an alien peeking around the door. It's unnatural because physically your brain can't put together how it would be there.
Right.
So so fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah, incredible horrifying imagery, great understanding of like paranoia and like the sort of breaking down and stuff. Um, uh, what a movie!
To
What
have
a god. One of my favorite details from the director's like video, like commentary, like we watched some interviews, is that he said a big thing he did while recording it, while making it, is that he just kind of let any reaction Walken gives stay in it. So if there's like a scene where Walken sees the aliens and he just starts laughing, the director would keep it in. And I think a lesser director would be like, no, 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 you have to act scared for this. But he like
yeah.
gets that, like, no, that's a natural reaction. And yeah, if you were in a situation like this, there are going to be times where your brain is just like, I can't, what the fuck am I looking at? And laughing. And it makes it so much scarier because you realize that he's just like, I don't know what's going on.
Well, Communion's like it addresses so many of my issues with so many like UFO films in that nature, especially because like there's a part where like this is in the same movie where there's like the most horrifying scene of an alien showing up, like, the doorway scene, infamous, horrifying, really scary. And then later on in the same film, Christopher Walken walks up to an alien and like does the fucking like secret handshake with it
Yeah.
like
Oh,
they're fucking buds meeting up at the sports bar. It's stunning. It's like these very like, and if I were like placed in real life in front of an alien, what the fuck would I do? I would do some stupid shit because like there's nothing that prepares you for that situation. I would be like, "Hey pal, fist bump,
I,
bro fist, ha. Do you want to
I really think that
add me on
that a
Halo?"
part of it too is that it's like the writer and director like says it's based on his like actual experiences,
Mhm.
which like definitely contributes to it because I think it's just the writer, not the director. Which definitely contributes to it because I think it helps by making it feel more like instead of doing the whole like, oh, it might be all in his head, it's like it could be, but it doesn't really matter because he's still really experiencing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Kind of like a night terror, where it's like it doesn't matter that the night terror isn't real because you're really experiencing it when you're having one.
You're still fucking scared, bro.
Yeah, it's called a night terror, not a night a night phantasm.
It's called a night terror, not a night normal.
Yeah, not a night fun.
um yeah, Communion is just a stunning film. It contains it just goes it has like all of my favorite aspects of like a Bong Joon-ho film where it just like goes in so many different like directions with like genre, and it just like allows itself to breathe as far as just like navigating these different tones and these different ways of thinking about how scary the shit is, or how not scary it is. Maybe like, I don't know, like that's the beauty of Communion. It's so ambiguous and it's so like, how do you feel? It confronts you with like how you feel about the lack of control, and the lack of
Yeah.
knowledge.
And kind of tying the thing you were saying earlier about like horror is already about trauma. There's absolutely like a subtextual read of the film where it's like how this stuff also ties into like say like childhood sexual assault memories, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of moments that are very like kind of geared towards giving you this read of like, if this stuff isn't real, it is probably the product of something very traumatic that happened to him as a child. Like there's that really good line where he's like kind of dismissively is like, yeah, I'm seeing this doctor who's like an expert in this stuff, but can you believe that like she mostly like helps like rape victims? And it's like a throwaway line, but like the way Walken delivers it is very like he is trying to distance himself from that element of it and be like, that's not me though. I'm not seeing her for that reason. And it's very real. It's very realistic the way he does it.
Yeah. That's it's really fraught, but I mean like that's such an important texture to the film, which is that like it's like
The movie really is about losing autonomy, a sense of autonomy over your own body and mind.
exactly. Yeah, like the sort of UFO stuff, so much about it is kind of like a rape metaphor, or you know, if we're to take these experiences on their face, like pretty, you know, pretty literal, like not not a good thing to happen to you.
Yeah, I mean, there is at least one scene where he is
Probed.
basically subjected to medical torture and sexual abuse, and
Yeah.
that is literally what is happening in the scene.
Yeah. So, you know, it's not a stretch to call this like trauma and like trauma response and all of the above. Yeah.
And the reason why it works is because again, it doesn't. There's not a scene where he's standing around like, oh, I'm realizing that the aliens they're this metaphor, and now and that's what's actually going on. And Babadook voice, every day it gets a little easier to deal with.
Like there's a certain silliness to seeing like a shot of Christopher Walken on like a subway train and every single person around him has like a reptilian head on. Like,
Yeah,
okay, goofy, but like also a pretty potent metaphor for like what life is like when you're fucking hallucinating or whatever, you know? Like,
yeah,
uh, I don't know. Communion is definitely one of those films that feels as goofy as mental illness is.
yeah. It is a perfect film. Absolutely worth checking out if you haven't seen it or heard of it. Don't let people who talk about it in like a weird meme way mislead you, because it is fucking fire.
It's so I love Communion. I adore it. It's a great movie. Enough about things that we liked.
Yeah, no, now a different kind of communion.
Yeah.
Remember when I said I watched all of the Black Christmases?
Uh-huh.
So number 2 for worst movie on my list is Black Christmas 2019.
You're insane.
Which is the girl boss Black Christmas remake.
Oh no, come on.
So the thing I talked about with Black Christmas 2006, where I love how it's just like that thing about the fuck that, whatever this movie's about, fuck that.
yeah.
This does that, but in the completely worst way possible. Because of all the movies to like start at as like this is gonna be our foundation to be like feminist. The movie about a guy who like murders a woman and leaves her in the attic and then just slowly picks off teen girls one by one.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a weird one. And then to be like, oh, also it's a metaphor for college campus culture.
I don't know.
And how it treats women.
The
But
first one kind of
also-
already does that.
But also,
Okay.
in our movie about this, there is going to be an extended so spoilers, whatever.
Okay.
The main girl, first off, the women who get killed the most brutally are the women who work with the cult, because in this movie it's not a killer, there's a cult that's running the campus. And the main character is was like raped by a frat guy on campus, It's about that. Okay. And
Sure.
then there's like a part where they're doing like a funny little Christmas show, and it turns into like them doing like clapback stand-up comedy about how he raped her.
That sounds really terrible.
It gets better. And then her friend,
No.
her feminist friend, records it and puts it on YouTube without asking her, and she's
Okay.
upset. She's like pissed off about that because it's like, cool, okay, I performed that being like, this is for my college campus, and this is me like speaking out and being like, hey, fuck this guy that he's still at this party. Like, you all know what he did.
Yeah.
Don't like that you put this on the internet so that it could go viral because it's 2019. We know what happens to women when that happens.
Yeah.
Um, and then the feminist friend is proven right, and not in like a plot hole thing credit way. There's like a scene where the character literally goes, "You were right. I should have done that. I shouldn't have been upset that you did that." Because
No
now it
way.
turns out that the rapist guy is in the cult. So you were right to violate my trust and permission and distribute video of me discussing a traumatic experience to the internet, causing it to go viral with my name and face attached to it.
I'm gonna kill myself. I
And
love
the
it.
film, because it is a modern girl boss movie, this isn't a matter of interpretation. The film diegetically has characters tell you that is correct. She was right to do that, and the main character was wrong to have a problem with it.
As we always like to say on this show, when making a film, tell, don't show.
Yeah. And also, don't show this. Don't fucking show me this.
And yeah, let's actually just shorten that phrase. Don't show. Just
Yeah,
don't,
don't show me that.
just don't start. Don't make a movie. That seems like a literal, genuine refutation of Black Christmas as a concept and an original film.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Oh, that's why it's on my list. It's the only one that's not from this year because having watched it, it's just like the second I saw that name on my like having watched list from this year, I was like, "Oh, that fucking piece of shit movie." Oh, there is only one other film that got me that riled up. But we'll come back to that, Brew.
All right, all right. Let's switch places.
What's your second best film of the year?
Okay. This might be a slight shock. But I'm ready to talk about this film at this point in this recording. Uh Funeral Parade of Roses
All
is
right.
one of the best things I have seen in my life. We talked about it, I think, earlier in this recording, where Jay mentioned having seen it like something like 5 times this year. I've seen it like at least 3 times this year. We were both convinced that we'd seen it in like 2019 because we've both seen it like a zillion times, and it's felt like 4 years since the first time we saw it. But my first time seeing it, I'm pretty sure, was in March of this
No,
year.
yeah, because you would have seen it shortly before I did because you were like, you need to watch this movie, and so I
Yeah,
went and watched.
yeah. Masterpiece. One of the best fucking movies ever. I don't just say that because it's about trannies. Uh, but welcome.
It helps.
It fucking helps. God damn it. Yeah. You get to look at like the most beautiful transgender women that you've ever seen in your life for 90 minutes or however long it is.
Oh, sidebar. I'm really ashamed of this.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't until the 5th time when I watched this when I showed it to one of the people I'm dating now, and they were like, "Oh yeah. Her name's Eddie because it's a remake of Oedipus Rex." And I felt so fucking stupid for having not caught that before.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's an Oedipus sort of remake, reimagining.
It's a very loose, but
Yeah,
you will understand when you watch it.
it is
You will
truly
understand our words and deeds.
it is so much more than that. Because I mean, okay, it's easy as kind of a queer or transgender person to feel a little bit disconnected from history as a whole, and especially your history, when like a lot of it is kind of unspoken, a lot of it is purposefully destroyed, and it's a whole thing. But okay, I say it's easy to feel disconnected. It's even easier to reconnect with that history when you learn how to fucking read, for one thing. Uh, and you watch films like Funeral Parade of Roses, which is about the, yeah, transgender Tokyo nightlife of the late 60s, Tokyo underworld. Uh, and it's even more, the movie represents even more than that because it's this like tour de force, tonal, just absolute, like it's house before house, like it is that, it's from that like line of experimental thinking and experimental filmmaking. It's like that specific Japanese era of throwing spaghetti at the wall and like putting the most interesting thing that you can possibly think of like on the screen at any given moment.
Yeah, just I think you called it the Bible.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Bible. It's
No,
my Bible.
it is phenomenal. We also did a throws it back on this where you can hear more of our thoughts in depth. But it is, every time I watch that film, there's more details to it that I find to fucking love and appreciate.
Yeah.
There's more ways that the story makes even more sense to me because you have to, it is a very experimentally told narrative, and so you do have to kind of, I feel like it is worth at least two watches because once you know what happens and what's going on, it's a lot easier to follow all the plot beats of everything
I would
and
say
like
I
see where all the pieces come together.
I didn't catch like a lot of the plot my first watch because I was just so stunned and so like completely taken by like the style of it. And
Yeah.
the absolute like breakneck speed and like how quickly it was just like flitting between these different, just like incredible unspeakable styles. um it contains so much. It's an unfucking believable movie.
It is, and like I said, a perfect snapshot. It's funny you talked about like the history and stuff. I actually, one of the other reasons why I rewatched it was I showed it to a friend of mine specifically because we were talking about she's a modern as we call them in the biz, faggot girl. And so I was sort of looking for like, and I was talking about like, like the kind of history of like she's the history of like, yes, I'm a girl, yes, yes, I'm a girl, yes, I'm a gay man, yes, we exist.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and so like I showed her that because I was like, you're gonna like really fucking relate to this film, and she fucking loved it. She also really liked Paris is Burning because it's the same sort of thing. And it's when you get engaged with these kinds of documents, if modern narratives leave you feeling a little alienated, go back just like a couple decades. People have been, trans and queer people have been making art for literally ever,
Yeah,
and you can find it.
absolutely. It has absolutely galvanized and excited and just absolutely turned me on to the idea that like things from 50 years ago and even before that, that as created by trans people, or at the very least created by chasers, like
Created in part with heavy influence from trans people.
created with trans involvement, let's say.
Yeah.
Like that stuff is really inspiring and really really interesting and really fascinating, and I just want more and more and more of it. um and Funeral Parade of Roses is that. Yeah, it's absolutely the Bible. It is the, it's the holy grail of that kind of thing. It's just this absolute, like, there's nothing new under the sun. Like it just it's insane that like late 60s, people living out the late 60s kind of feel like they're going through the same motions that many goyles are today.
You will find, if you have ever been at a party with a bunch of trans girls taking ket, you will see that. You will
Mhm.
find that has been going on forever. Not always ket. It was like dirt weed and eye
Yeah,
drops
and
in the
like
60s.
coke here and there.
That
um
that was really funny showing it to that friend because like that friend's also like a Zoomer, and we were just like watching it at like the scene where they're getting high and getting really goofy, and just them just going like, man, if these people smoked a blunt of today's modern weed, it would kill them.
It would be fully Victorian child. It would just be like they just immediately like I don't feel so good.
just just going absolutely fucking gone off of like one puff of shit that was probably mostly like lucky 4-leaf clovers. And then just imagining giving them like legal grade Seattle 40% THC fucking strain, them hitting it and just falling into a bed and disappearing.
Oh my god. Yeah, falling through the bed like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Falling to the bed, and it's like that claymation horror film where the guy falls over and bursts into like 80 different little guys.
Mm. That would be spectacular. I would kill for that.
Uh
Yeah, Funeral Parade of Roses. One of the most spectacular things human hands have ever created. But now, all right, worst.
but what was the second worst thing that human hands created
the second
this year?
The second worst thing that I saw this year that human hands had any involvement in? Gotta give it to Promising Young Woman. We have an extensive and very animated episode about Promising Young Woman, I would say.
Probably,
an exciting episode.
I try not to. Here's the thing: I try not to call things evil because I usually use it as a compliment when I'm discussing art. That is an evil movie. Watching that movie feels like I somehow like, like when people talk about like weird rituals that like elites do to like justify to themselves like all the criminal bullshit that they do. That movie feels like watching that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it feels so apologetic and it feels so piecemeal and so just cynical and self-defeating and just like I don't know, like I've heard so many complaints from so many different people at this point, and at this point it's hard to kind of katamari them all into kind of a single thing that goes in a single direction, but like ultimately this is a film that aims to set us back like 15 years at least. It is about like
this film is the reason why just lost to Wade.
Fuck my fucking life. Yeah. It really wants to kind of equivocate and like I don't know, the fact that like the main one of the main characters in this film who's referred to a lot but like is never actually in the film is a character who's fucking dead, who fucking like died, but like her corpse is being paraded by the main character as this thing that's like, part of her journey, right? Her journey to kind of entrap men in these like date rape schemes and then just like say like and then be really really rough, mean to them,
and then do a clapback
and do a epic Twitter clapback.
Bro, your screenplay sounds bad. Fedora moment.
You're like, oh, you thought that you were gonna like date rape me. Well, I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna say, you're a tech bro and you look like you play Pokemon or something. Got him.
I bet you love Infinite Jest too.
And then I'm going to say,
it's funny how I was pretending to be a stupid woman and thus acceptable target of sexual violence, but actually I'm intelligent. So therefore I bet you feel really bad about it now.
Yeah, it's
and I'm not going to interrogate what that means at all.
Aren't you like isn't it so alluring how I'm like a very special white woman who is kind of like playing my victimhood, like, kind of playing with my victimhood status to kind of like trick men and like, tell them that they're very, childish and they're making things unsafe for women. Anyway, I'm gonna stand up and leave and take a lift home. What a fucking infuriating piece of shit movie.
I'm gonna pull rank a little bit here and say that was also my number one pick because it is a deeply evil movie. And that was what I was teasing at. Very weird compliment to Black Christmas in that both of them involve characters who are overly invested in their friend's victimhood to the point that they almost pretend as if they have a greater claim to it than their friend.
Yeah.
Which both of these films are just absolutely just is all over these films. is the specific type of girl boss like womanhood. And this is not endemic to just like white cis women,
Oh,
but
of
it is
course.
most enabled by white cis. It is most enabled for white cis women to do.
Yeah.
Uh, white cis straight women to do, I guess. Let me specify, is to just not play victim because it's not that,
White cis straight
but
women and Ellen.
yeah, but to take other people's victimhood to justify one's own objectively shitty behavior that is
Literally.
usually more harmful to other women as it is in promise. Like we talked about this again in the episode. It is insane how if Emerald Fennel took it just a few steps further, it would have been a fucking great film, because I felt like it was going in that direction where there were like, she was going to have her own aha, I got you moment, and realize that like, oh, you were literally using your friend's horrible tragedy that ended in her death
Yeah.
to act out your own self-destructive like narcissistic depression,
And
which is real. Like that's absolutely a thing. Like self-destructive narcissistic depression is like a real thing that like all kinds of people go through, and you could absolutely make an incredible film about somebody like getting overly invested in somebody else's trauma as a means to which they can express their own self-destructive tendencies but feel like what they're doing is okay,
well,
because that's what the character in this is doing.
you can literally like the metaphor for self-destructive narcissism works in the sense that Promising Young Woman is like practically about the fucking Brock Turner case. That's like what the name of the movie is about. Like,
Yeah.
insanely fucking narcissist to use that case as a springboard for your script. And especially like that being the case, like if your script doesn't start with like a rapist being murdered, don't write your script. Like it's not, there's no like, I get it. This is real life. Real life is worse. Real life is very cynical and shitty. You don't get to kill your rapist in real life. But what are movies? What is the point of the movie?
You don't get to do it in real life, but what you get to do is a Law and Order plot twist.
Yeah.
where the police are like, now we will take this seriously.
The police, who historically take this stuff so seriously.
Police who start, and it's also great because it's like, if you have any level of awareness about that kind of thing, you're just gonna like look at this and be like, they're immediately gonna go, she tried to kill me, it was self-defense, and the cops are gonna go, well, okay.
Well, it's a victimless crime. Several women are dead, but it's a victimless crime.
We're just glad nobody got hurt.
Yeah. We're just glad nobody got hurt and instead got dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deranged film. Just
evil film. Emerald Fennel.
We also go on our whole rant about the promotional bullshit they used, where they were just like, they wanted somebody to be a misogynist, and when someone wasn't, they just invented one. Which is honestly a really great metaphor for the film itself.
Yeah, I mean, yet another thing that we talk about in our little review video is like the whole fucking snafu shit situation with like the reviewer. And it's just like, what a fucking narcissistic tornado nightmare bullshit situation. Emerald Fennel, go fuck yourself.
At least Me You Madness was a fun movie.
I had more fun watching Me You Madness.
Me You Madness actually accomplishes self-abnegation. It is a towering testament to its own hubris, which makes it art.
Yeah.
Promising Young Woman is also a towering tribute to its own hubris, but much like how the guys in the end are definitely getting away with it, Emerald Fennel's just got away with it and got so much critical acclaim for one of the most evil films I had seen last year. Yeah. And that's why it was number one on the list.
Yeah, one of the most like anti-rape survivor just things I've ever seen.
and then she just disappears from the movie.
She's in like two fucking scenes. I love that. I love that
Just
for a
just
transgender.
pissing away an extremely
One of the
talented
most talented
actress.
women alive.
Yeah, and just pissing her away for like a token, for like one of the most offensively tokenizing roles I've seen in a movie in a while.
Yeah, like what the fuck are we doing? Like the talent, like the sole talent in the movie being reduced to like a punctuation point.
Yeah, being reduced to going, and then at the end of the film, getting the locket, so you know that it's really sad that her character died. So yeah, since that covered, I guess, my number one worst, I guess we might as well just go to my number one best.
Yeah, best movie that you saw this year. I'm so curious.
Probably should have been Funeral Parade of Roses in retrospect. Now that I know that it did actually watch it for the first time this year, but you know what? Let's pretend not.
Yeah.
Mine would be, and this is a little cheating, Twin Peaks: The Missing Pieces.
Oh, you silly goofball.
It's so good.
It's really fucking good.
It's such a good it. I the reason why I've been like so obsessed with it is not just because like I obviously I have like my huge obsession with Twin Peaks, but The Missing Pieces just like is a second movie's worth of content left over from the Twin Peaks film.
Yeah.
And it recontextualizes so much and gives so much like more texture to the movie that wasn't there, that it takes something that I already really loved and just like really heightens how much I love it. And so in that way, it's like I kind of had to include it. There's a specific line which is very dumb, but I like it because there's a really stupid line in the main theatrical cut of the film, where Laura is kind of dissociating in a club and they're just saying like gibberish things, and she goes, "I am the muffin." And it's a callback to an earlier scene that also sets up a big thing that is like both a theme in the show and in the film, but gives it a lot more context about where her best friend Donna sees Laura as this like, "Oh, you're like my really cool friend. You're so cool. How are you so cool, Laura?" And she kind of like wants to be like her. And Donna compares herself to a muffin, where she's like her mom's muffins, she's fine, but she's like so plain and stuff. And in the scene, Laura also gets like really emotional and is very much so just like, you do not want to be like me. Stop saying that. Do not pursue me. Do not follow me into these kinds of things. And it sets up a later conflict that's in the main film, where she brings Donna to like these club things where she's being sex traded, and it's basically like her kind of being like, this is what I am. This is what I have been dealing with. This is why I am the way I am. You don't want this. And it's very like, it's Laura at her like meanest towards Donna, and it's very clearly like this self-destructive gesture of like trying to destroy their friendship because she doesn't want Donna to end up like her. But at the end of the scene that's in The Missing Pieces, while she's crying, she's like leaving the house and she goes like, "No, Donna, I'm the muffin." And it changes it because it's like to Donna, she's like, "Oh, I'm like this muffin. I'm like, like I'm so bland and boring or whatever." And the line with when Laura repeats it is that it's like, "No, I'm the muffin because I am a consumable good, and the way people treat me is as indistinguishable and like you see me as really cool, but that is a product of trauma of men treating me as like an object that is indistinguishable from any other."
Yeah.
And so when she says "I am a muffin" later in the club, it's her like going into that cool alter ego while reaffirming to herself that like, "Oh, I'm going to become like the muffin, a object to be consumed and disposed of."
Well, it's such an interesting, like, the way that she talks about, like, she says it to Donna in a way that's like, "Oh, well, yeah, I'm the muffin too. I'm really shallow. I want to have, like, really kind of shallow concerns and things like that. But you kind of impart all of this depth on me, and, like, you assume all this depth about me because of all of this, like, secrecy and sex work and stuff like that. When, like, in reality, they are the same girl. One is just being like traumatized,
Yeah, one is just being repeatedly traumatized and basically developing like alter egos to deal with it, and like masks to sort of distance herself from what's going on.
Yeah.
You also get like a lot more like cute like backstory with the FBI agent Kiefer Sutherland. Or is it Kiefer? It's one of the Sutherlands. There's just a lot of
There's
like
more
small
David
details.
Bowie.
There's more David Bowie. There's the fantastic scene of David Bowie fucking screaming as he's ripped out of reality.
Oh, so fucking
And I'm
good.
so sad was just not seen until like the missing pieces came out
It's a
because it's such a viscerally upsetting scene, and his delivery of just this like anguish, like existentially agonizing like experience is so good.
well, I remember so many people having such a weird reaction to the David Bowie scene because it's like it's edited really weirdly and it's kind of incomprehensible. But the missing pieces just provides that extra context that like literally explains what is happening to him.
Yeah.
Like
And
I
so yeah,
watched
like
I watched Firewalk with Me and The Missing Piece in conjunction with each other, and that seems like the definitive way to go about it, especially since like it's in the context of a show that is like however many hours long.
yeah, no, absolutely, it is the definitive way to watch it. And it's like I still really liked when like I liked Firewalk with Me when I
Yeah,
first watched it, and like I still like it even as its own. But it is absolutely a thing where it's like no, you do have to watch them back to back because it kind of creates this like alternative narrative where you end up seeing more of the context of the pieces, which makes you realize how little you really knew, which also really works with kind of the themes of Twin Peaks and especially the movie, because the whole kind of point of the film is the TV show is defined by Laura's absence. And
ugh,
so the film brings in that absence. And so even though most of the events of it that you see, you already know what they are because you've seen the show, it's like okay, but now you have to actually like go through it. Like you've seen the effects of it and you've seen people talk about it, but like this is now Laura's story. This is like how those events actually impacted her, and this is how the context of those events led to what you had seen happen. And Twin Peaks: The Missing Pieces just brings in more of that. It just gives you more of this like context for like who she was and the kind of relationship she had, undefined by her death.
yeah. And I mean the way that like Twin Peaks as a whole kind of escalates, like the way that it kind of leads into these really really interesting confrontations between Laura and like a lot of different characters, but especially Donna. Like I don't know, it just like elevates like it just creates all of this depth to these relationships and to these dynamics that like portrays something that's like really really bone deep, because like David Lynch is not often trying to kind of I don't know, I guess I don't get the impression it's like he's trying to get to these like very deep sort of psychological questions, but in a very roundabout way, like through lots of dream logic and through lots of conversations that are kind of on their face seem a lot more simple, or deceptively simple. But it gets into like really really really, I don't know, really psychological territory for sure.
I think it's I've been rewatching the series with my boyfriend recently, and it's definitely like having seen this now. I see the thorough line of Donna's character a lot more, and how much of like Lara Flynn Boyle's performance is a very good job of performing a teenage girl who just violently lost her best friend and is now almost stuck in this mindset of like I have to replace her, but recognizing that like oh I never really actually knew her and like
Yeah,
I was her closest friend. And so trying to become this new Laura without really understanding that like well you can't be this new Laura because the conditions that produce Laura are awful and you don't want to go through them.
you really don't want to be Laura.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, Twin Peaks is just a really compelling and really interesting artifact in general. I mean, like I I have yet I gotta catch up on the series. I gotta watch season 3.
It it's still so insane to consider, like, because I've been like again, since I've been watching it, thinking like, man, in like when this show is airing, you had to like set aside like the next episode is on Wednesday at 8 p.m. I have to be home to watch that.
Yeah.
If I miss that, that's it. The story is basically over for me
Then you
unless
don't
I
know.
happen to catch a rerun.
You don't know who killed Laura Palmer. You're out of the loop. You're a loser. You're like a spazoid dumbo or whatever they said back then.
Gag me with a spoon. You don't even know who killed Laura Palmer? Yikes!
Ew.
Ew! I don't know what they talked like back then. I was not alive when the series aired.
No, they would probably say a slur at you.
That's fair.
um. Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I think The Missing Pieces is a fantastic work. But do you wanna hear about my
Yeah. What was your best of the year?
best? Yeah, so I was really fully, completely expecting Funeral Parade of Roses to be my number one spot. It's kind of astonishing to me that something kind of knocked it out of the number one spot, but yeah, when I was putting the list together and thinking about it, I really, really had to hand it over to Tropical Malady. Um, Tropical Malady, yeah. Tropical Malady is a 2004 movie by Apchadpong Wirasatako. Hope to God I'm pronouncing that right. Um, it's Thai. It is about okay. So Tropical Malady presents itself in two halves. The first half is about this soldier and this guy who kind of start a romantic relationship that's like it's really kind of cute and sweet. Um, but it's basically the shape this like gay romantic relationship that like takes shape over the course of the first half of the film. Um, and then the second half of the movie is a confrontation that another soldier has with a shaman spirit that takes the shape of a tiger. Uh Again, really tough to describe. Like almost nigh impossible to describe what like actually happens in Tropical Malady. What I can say about it is that it affected me in a way that is past what I thought movies were able to do.
Ooh.
Uh because these two parts of the film, they don't, like they're kind of I don't want to say it's not like the film is kind of like hiding its intent from you by any by any standards. These two parts of the film are definitely related. Like they're both about like the same type of like intimacy and intensity that comes with I don't know, I guess love and seeing and being seen. The movie is definitely about like seeing and being seen, like to, kind of down to your core. Uh and the sort of like transcendent function of the film is that it kind of like in a similar kind of way to like a lot of transcendental filmmaking and like Tsai Ming Lang, whose film Days we watched I think this year.
Yeah. Really good movie.
Yeah, really good. Uh, it kind of lulls you into a sense of submission where it's just like these really real and heartfelt and very simplistic portrayals of love and of love and of love sort of developing between these two characters. And then like so for the whole first half of the movie you're being kind of like lulled into a sense of submission. And then in the second half of the film it pulls you like deep into the jungle at night, and it all of a sudden becomes insanely like inward facing and spiritual and universal. uh like this movie just contains like the entire human genome emotionally. Like this is the emotional human genome in a film is how it kind of how I would describe the Tropical Malady.
Okay. No, that sounds really good. Um, is this one of the ones you said that was on just on YouTube?
It was. I went to go find it, rewatching it for the purposes of this, and
Yeah.
I think they took down the upload.
Okay.
Uh,
It'll probably pop back up. That there's a shocking number of movies that just basically disappear and come back constantly.
yeah.
I've noticed.
Well, it's also it's like not streaming anywhere except for like you have to like buy the DVD off of Amazon. That's like the level of like hard to find that this movie is. Uh,
Jesus.
it's really fucking rough. I wish there was an easier way to stream this movie because it is not only a masterpiece, but like it saved my life. Like this movie actually kind of saved me. Uh,
Aw.
yeah, it's just it's a really really sweet and human piece of work, and it um kind of it reconnects you with yourself, and it's really 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 important. I know that Abchapang Rastako has Memoria, which is a Tilda Swinton movie that came out this year and is, I guess the distribution model that they're going with is like it's a permanent distribution model, which is like Memoria is never going to come to like disc or streaming allegedly. It's just going to go like be at a different theater. It's gonna do like
Oh,
a week long run at a different theater in a random place forever until the end of time, and you just have to catch it when it shows up.
that's insane. I love that.
Yeah, a traveling circus situation, which like I can't wait for it to hit Seattle because I'm absolutely going. Uh, but
Which one did you say that was called? Memori?
Memoria. I'm looking forward to Memoria. It looks incredible. It's like slightly about exploding head syndrome as well, which is really interesting. Um,
Oh, I forgot he also did the Uncle Boonmi who can recall his past lives, which I've heard nothing but good about.
yeah, I also watched that. That movie is beautiful. Tropical Melody kind of sent me on a bit of a journey. I watched uh Uncle Boonmi Who Can Recall His Past Lives and also Cemetery of Splendor, and those were both similarly like meditative and beautiful and really really important. And like simple concepts too. Like Cemetery of Splendor is basically about this woman who like a bunch of soldiers have this like mysterious sleeping sickness according to Letterboxd. So this like older woman kind of like forms a telepathic bond with them to travel into their dreams. Uh which sounds like it's the type of plot that you hear and it's like how do you film that? But
Yeah.
with him it's like always so simple because it's just like deeply layered metaphor and like very beautiful imagery and um just really simple, like something that becomes so simple that it like shrinks itself down to a tiny 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 point, but then that point is just like containing the entire universe.
Oh.
Yeah, Tropical Malady I really can't recommend enough. I think
Okay.
everybody in the whole entire universe should watch it. My other number one, since we're kind of on the train of stuff that we've been involved in, Princess Mononoke, a fan dub.
You had said that there was oh wait, no, this is still on your best. So like you said there's nothing on your best list that was from this year, but I guess this is
Hey,
an
listen,
honorable mention.
Mononoke is from the 2000 the 90s or whatever, I don't remember. But yeah, this is an honorable mention. This is kind of outside the list, but I played Lady Eboshi in a fan dub of Princess Mononoke. It was the honor of a lifetime. And the dub came out fantastic. Sophia Foster Domino, illustrator, comic artist,
Genius.
genius, put the whole thing together.
Incredible
Absolute
cook.
genius.
If you never get a chance to read anything she made, ask her to make you some eggs. It'll be the best damn eggs you've ever had.
Yeah. Yeah, she can do everything, but
Yeah.
sex fantasy is fantastic. Everything she does is so so good. Yeah, go check out that fan dub if it's uploaded anywhere. I don't know if it is, but there will be more streams of it, so keep an eye out. But now for the bad vibes, and we're gonna.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got this is the
This is our last film that we're gonna
last
talk
film of the
about.
year.
Oh boy, are you
Well,
excited?
unless I mean unless we get, I guess unless we talk about the new Matrix movie when it comes out cuz I'm seeing it opening
Yeah,
night.
I'm seeing it. I don't know if we'll be able to talk about it before I get back in January, but because I'm going on my whole trip. Blah 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 blah. We'll figure it out. But I want to see that when I'm down in Arizona. Um, yeah, the final movie that we were talking about in 2021 probably. Oh boy, this fucking sucks. I hate being the bearer of bad news. I hate feeling like the Grim Reaper. I feel like the fifth horseman of the apocalypse. Um,
Hmm.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was a fucking god awful nightmare piece of shit that our
I
patrons made us watch.
I forgot we watched that. I straight up forgot that we had watched that.
Yep, I marked it in Letterboxd, and I'm upset. I'm upset that I still have to talk about it. I'm upset that I ever watched it. I'm just upset.
That
Um,
was that was like such a misfire.
can you imagine any context where a movie about like Robert Downey Jr. being like an LA Hollywood wannabe piece of shit schmoozing asshole, but who gets embroiled in like some fucking crime shit, you know?
Yeah, and there's a gay Val Kilmer.
And Val Kilmer is here and he's gay. Who
Yeah.
fucking cares?
Real like I was like, oh, it's probably not gonna be that good, but it's probably gonna be like, still fun. Man, I was so wrong.
No, it's
Straight up, that was why I was really nervous when we were rewatching The Snowman. I was like, oh fuck, is this gonna be another Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
yeah. No, the Snowman didn't make it on my worst of list because the Snowman is a fucking heater.
Yeah, no, Snowman is fun. I would have fought you. Snowman is great. It is
Snowman rules.
objectively not a good movie, but it fucking rules.
But I love it. But I love it. Yeah, Kiss Bang Bang is like trying to be clever and trying to be funny and trying to be interesting and trying to be good. And I think that's what infuriates me the most about it. It's like it's LA inside baseball, stupid fucking shit. It's like the least favorite parts of a city that I really struggle with the existence of. Uh Bad. Really, really bad. I don't know. I like
It wasn't good.
Robert Downey Jr. fucking sucks as it is. Like I don't know. He's just a piece of shit. He's not interesting in the Marvel movies. He's not interesting in have, have you seen a Robert Downey Jr. movie that you've like really liked him in?
Um, Iron Man 3.
No, you didn't. Don't fucking lie, bitch.
I didn't like it. No, I didn't like Iron Man 3. I was trying. I was trying to come up with something.
You're trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I understand. Wanting to see the best in people. Let me see if I can find a single movie that I can say a good thing about that he's been in. Oh, star of 109 films. Jesus, just retire. Zodiac is a piece of shit.
He's been in that movie. Okay, I remember liking Zodiac, but I have not seen that since I was the age when you like movies like Zodiac, which is like 17.
Okay, I think genuinely like the only thing he's been in that I've liked has been A Scanner Darkly, and I don't know if I really like A Scanner Darkly that much either.
I mean, I would not say his character and acting in it is like the highlight of that film.
Yeah, it's not what I remember about
Is
it.
like the thing about it. Yeah, I kind of forget about it, and he's kind of the most annoying actor in that movie.
He kind of
If we're being honest, yeah.
He was in Natural Born Killers, which like having a credit in that movie is like worthy of assassination in and of itself. And of course, Tropic Thunder.
Oh right.
We love that for him. We love that for his legacy.
the Robert Downey Jr.'s blackface movie.
Yeah. Which I mean, not that I think that people are sanding over forgetting that. I think it's I don't know. I mean, like it's it's so
It is weird what people.
right?
It is weird what people give comedy from that era. No, I said right the first time.
Mm.
What comedy choices from that era people give a pass to and what they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like if any other actor but Robert Downey Jr. did that, it would absolutely be brought up way more often, and they would be raked over the coals for it constantly.
They would be utterly blacklisted.
It is because he is a he's Disney mobbed up.
Yeah.
That
he's
people are regardless of what you think about past decisions and whatnot, like regardless on whether or not you think like, oh well, that is a product of its time, or like, oh, it isn't. if it was not Robert Downey Jr. and he was not mobbed up by Disney, people would not be giving it as much of a pass as they would.
Absolutely. Imagine if like Dana Carvey did that shit.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not, again, because I'm not saying that as someone who's like, he should be hounded for it. He should, but that's just because I don't like him. Because it's like, you can look at the film and you can see what they're doing, but badly aged comedy is not given that much of a leash.
Yeah.
Unless it benefits the mouse, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And Kiss Kiss Bang Bang has all of the problems, all of the writing issues of like movies that are trying to be funny but don't want to be comedies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh god, I think that's part of the reason why. Man, I used to think I was like, oh, Robert Downey Jr. is fine. He's just associated with some shit. But I'm really realizing he's kind of the driving factor for like that sort of Marvelification writing, because he's like the perfect vehicle for delivering lines like that.
He's the type of like puppet actor that Joss Whedon type writers get obsessed with, because he's like representative of this inaccessible sort of sexuality that, you know, is kind of I think people
he can do the nerdy affectations like, well, should I do you want me to go back in there and come back in again so I can do you want me to redo that? I'm sorry, did that kind of thing?
I'm so sorry.
Like, he's still fuckable.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Like he's not soy about it because he's still like, you know, like cool. But he's not. He's just a former cokehead.
Which, like, these days is enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's enough to get some pussy. Like, if you did coke in the 90s, like, that's enough. But at the same time, I don't know. It's not enough for me. That's what I'm saying.
I will say classic pre comeback era Robert Downey Jr. Joke. I don't remember if it's from Family Guy or The Simpsons because it's probably around that same era. Is the like, oh look, Robert Downey Jr. is filming a movie, and it's like him like in a shootout with the police. And I want to say it's because I think Bart goes, "Huh, that's weird. Where's the cameras?" They should have called it shit, fuck.
shit, bad, more like. God damn. I mean, you know, I guess that was 2020 for us. Yeah. That was our 2020. 2021. Jesus Christ.
I didn't want to correct you the first time, but then you said it a second time, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to correct you. I'm sorry.
Is anybody else like done? Is anybody else fucking over it? Like
the pandemic? Yeah.
No, just like it.
Oh. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, 2021. What a stressful year, I guess.
But hey, 2022 is looking great. We got a new Scream movie.
Yeah. What else is there?
What else is coming? I was like, what else is coming out in 2022?
Fuck.
I'm getting a pay raise.
Yay! Jay's getting a raise.
That's good.
Congrats.
Oh fuck! I forgot Nightmare Alley is coming out soon.
Oh shit.
Shit is right. It's probably shit is
Sonic,
right. It probably
Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is coming out.
Sonic 2. Yeah, Sonic 2 we got.
Oh. That's going to be that's in April. That's so soon.
The Batman.
Oh, Batman.
I'm so upset at how much of a fucking mark I am. But everything
idiot.
I learn about that movie just gets me more. Remember, you know the weird kid from Killing of a Sacred Deer? He's in it.
The Joker.
He's gonna be the Joker.
He's the
That's fucking
Joker,
brilliant.
baby.
They just. It turns out it really is true. The trick to getting me to care about a Batman movie is just cast all of Hollywood's weird faced guys in it.
All of the weird little A24 fuckers.
Yeah, and it worked.
It works.
It worked. It's working. It worked on who directed it too? Matt Reeves.
Zoe
Kravitz is in it.
Cloverfield guy. The fucking Cloverfield guy. I'm stunned. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
John Turturro's in it.
Oh, fucking The Northman is coming out.
Oh yeah.
Oh, all
Andy
right.
Serkis isn't. I'm pissed. I'm fucking. I'm sorry. I keep looking at every time I look at the Batman casting. Look, I'm like, I'm a mark. I just am a mark.
Yeah, of course. So many movies, so much cinema to look forward to in 2022. It'll be very, very exciting. There's a
I
lot to look
guess.
forward to in 2022. I think it'll
I
be a
guess
better
Licorice
year.
Pizza is coming here soon. I guess we should see that.
Fuck my life. I don't. I'm not looking forward to that.
I don't even care about the like problematic thing that people are talking about with it. I just don't want to watch a Paul. Just don't want to watch a Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
I specifically don't want to watch a Paul Thomas Anderson movie that takes place in the 70s. Like Boogie Nights.
Yeah,
Boogie Nights was enough for me.
it's. I think that's so funny is that I was so like, oh, I don't really want to see that, and I didn't know anything about what the movie was. I just saw the poster, and I was like, that looks like it's in the 70s. I'm
Yeah.
not. I don't. That looks like it's in the 70s and probably California. Oh, probably Southern California.
Like somehow like a thing taking place in the 70s is like plus 10 factor to Barroo wanting to watch it, but somehow like being in the 70s combined with heterosexuality is like a minus 30, and I really don't know how to suss out the math on that. Like it doesn't make any sense to me either. I can't put it together. Yeah, whole world of cinema opening up before our eyes, and I hope that you watch some of the films that we recommended, and I hope that you avoid some of the things that we fucking shitted on.
Or go see him. I don't care.
Or go watch them. I don't give a fuck. Spend your time how you want to spend it. It's your fucking life. Grow up.
I'm looking at my list of other stuff I watched this year. I'll also recommend Face in the Crowd. Good little 50s movie. A lot of people wrote annoying think pieces about how it predicted Trump, but personally I think it just predicted the ways in which corporations will really just sort of manipulate any populist figure in order to sell product.
Yeah.
Fraud, which is a strange found footage film that is narratively just so, but is a fun little experiment to watch because it is a thriller told based almost entirely through using actual found footage.
Ooh.
And that the guy who directed and edited the film just found this guy's YouTube channel where he was just uploading years of home videos.
Ooh.
And he just like created this insane like library system to like get different scenes and lines and stuff based on character and location and like action, and made a movie out of it.
Fuck
Like
yeah.
made it, just completely recontextualized it, used a couple supplemental footage he stole from elsewhere, but it is a actual found footage, but like it's a great little thing to watch and like think about editing and how editing tricks you.
Oh, that sounds really sick. I want to watch that.
Yeah, no, it was very much so worth watching. The actual story and movie is like on its own meh. It is very much so something you watch to just be like, this is a really cool editing trick.
Yeah. Interesting.
Wolf's Hole, which is a Czech film. Czech film.
Check.
Sci-fi, almost made for TV feeling thriller about a bunch of kids who are basically put into a sort of a like one for all for one situation, and is about how children are evil little bastards but still understand the concept of loyalty. And that even while they are being some of the most vicious, cruel, petty, mean-spirited kids to each other, the captors are basically constantly trying to test their willpower to like betray each other. And even when they fucking hate each other, it's about them like resisting that because they understand like they understand solidarity above all else. Very interesting little movie to watch.
Hell yeah.
Watermelon Woman, classic 90s gay black lesbian film.
Yeah, really good.
Hilarious cameo from Sarah Schulman in it, playing like a parody of herself, basically.
So good.
The Devils, we've talked about it.
Devils, yeah, I was
Bound,
I was kind of shocked that the Devils didn't make my like top fives, but
it almost made it. It almost made it.
Almost.
But I tried to. I was like, what are films that I have not been able to stop thinking about since I've watched them? And The Devils was up there, but it wasn't quite there.
Yeah, same.
Skin I Live In, Deranged.
Another
Go watch
one
it.
almost in my top 5. The Skin I Live In. Oh, please.
Very, very close. Thoroughbreds, really mixed. A lot of people had mixed reactions to it. I liked it. It's about girls who are evil.
Obviously watch Titan. We talked about Titan a little bit.
Yeah.
Watch the Card Counter. Card Counter is, probably my second favorite
Card
thing that
Counter
came
was
out this year.
Yeah, Card Counter is one of the good films that came out this year. What were some good movies that came out this year?
Those two, and that's it.
2021, a year of. Let's go see it.
Whatever. Go check it out or don't. Fuck you.
But yeah, I'm Jay Bearhat.
Yeah, I'm Barroo. Thank you for joining us for this year. Happy 2022, everybody!
We made it.
We fucking made it by the skin of our teeth.
Hey, welcome class of 2015. Can you believe that it's 2015?
God, I wish. All right.
I cannot believe how much I want to go back to 2015.
Oh, don't get me started. Let's all go back right now. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.